At the university opening ceremony, I took the stage as the representative of outstanding freshmen to deliver a speech. My mother rushed onto the stage, snatched the microphone from me, and broke down in tears before the entire school. "Principal, please revoke my daughter's speaking privileges. She doesn't deserve this honor. Her personal life is a mess. She got someone pregnant at such a young age, just had an abortion, and is still physically weak." In an instant, I became the laughingstock of the entire school. My boyfriend avoided me like the plague, and my friends turned against me. I was cornered on the rooftop while my mother wept and screamed below. "I only did it for your own good. You're not well, and it breaks my heart to see you suffer. I was afraid you'd get tired from standing too long." I took a leap. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to the day before the opening ceremony. My mom brought me a bowl of calming herbal soup, and I drank it with a smile. Then I secretly replaced her birth control pills with vitamin tablets. This time, I'll make sure she gets a taste of public disgrace too. The atmosphere at the dinner table was heavy and tense. My mother picked up some celery with her chopsticks and put it in my bowl. "Eat up. You need to get your strength up for tomorrow's opening ceremony." I quietly pushed the celery to the side of my plate. "I don't like celery." My mother's face fell. "You're giving a speech as the freshman representative in a few days. For such an important occasion, how can you afford to be in poor health?" Cousin Lydia spoke softly. "Sis, Auntie only wants what's best for you. Giving a speech as the freshman representative is such an honor. Our whole family is counting on you to bring pride to our ancestors." Though her words expressed admiration, the envy in her eyes was unmistakable. In my past life, this freshman orientation speech marked the beginning of my nightmare. When my mother saw I wasn't responding, her voice shot up an octave. "One, I'm talking to you. Cat got your tongue. Have you memorized your speech for tomorrow? Don't embarrass yourself on stage." My father couldn't stand it anymore and frowned. "That's enough. Let the child eat in peace." My mother immediately turned her criticism toward my father. "What do you know? I'm motivating her. She's the center of attention at school now, can't afford to make a single misstep." "Sis, I heard your school has an exchange program spot this year, and they're only picking from freshmen. The requirements are super strict." Lydia mentioned it casually, as if it were no big deal. My mom took the bait. "Just as expected, an exchange program. Which country?" "I think it's country M. The school covers everything. Tuition and living expenses for a whole year, which adds up to several $100,000. The moment my mother heard several $100,000, her eyes lit up with a flash of greed and calculation. My aunt gasped in surprise as well. Such a great opportunity. Of course our Nora should go. With her excellent grades and being the freshman representative, she'll definitely be fine. A flicker of pride crossed my mother's face, but then her brow furrowed. Look how frail she is. A strong gust of wind could knock her over. "What if you get sick abroad with no one to take care of you?" Lydia chimed in immediately. "That's true. My sister has always been delicate. She's been prone to illness since childhood. The competition for this spot must be fierce. I'm afraid her health won't be able to handle the pressure." I watched their little performance with a cold smirk. In my past life, I burned the midnight oil for countless days and nights to secure that exchange student spot. But because of the scene my mother caused at school, I lost the qualification entirely. Meanwhile, Lydia managed to snag the last-minute admission by having her aunt go around playing the victim and begging for sympathy. "This time around, I won't let them succeed. Mom, I don't want to compete for that spot. I'm exhausted. I just want to focus on my college life." My mother was speechless. My aunt and Lydia exchanged surprised glances. My mother eyed me with suspicion. "Are you serious? You're giving up such a great opportunity. Are you trying to pull a fast one on me again?" "No, I just think my health might genuinely not be up to it." "Lydia's right. I'm worried I won't be able to handle it." I deliberately played weak to steer the conversation toward Lydia. Watching the mother and daughter smugly scheme, I smirked inwardly. This was only the first step. Let them fight it out themselves. The harder they fight, the harder they'll fall. Lydia quickly waved her hands in protest. "Sis, that's not what I meant," but my mother cut her off, a calculating glint in her eyes. "Since Nora isn't going, we can't let this opportunity go to waste. Tomorrow, we'll go have a proper talk with Nora's counselor." My aunt's eyes lit up. "Will that work?" "Why wouldn't it?" my mother said with confidence. "Nora is the freshman class representative, so the teachers must think highly of her. Have her tell the teacher she's not feeling well and voluntarily give the opportunity to her cousin. When the teacher sees how considerate she is, they'll definitely agree." A blush spread across Lydia's face as she clenched her fists in excitement. My father frowned as he listened from the side. "What kind of nonsense is this? This is just ridiculous." My mother shot him a glare. "You shut up. You don't get to have a say in this household." She looked at me and said in a commanding tone, As soon as the speech is over tomorrow, you'll take us to see your advisor. Do you hear me? I nodded. Got it, Mom. Late at night, my mother came into my room holding a bowl of soup. Drink this calming soup, and don't be nervous tomorrow. It was exactly the same as in my previous life. In my previous life, after drinking this soup, I felt drowsy and muddle-headed every day. That gave my mom even more reason to say I was in poor health. I took the bowl and obediently drank it all in one go. My mom looked at me with satisfaction. After she left the room, I immediately went to the bathroom and threw up all the soup. Then, I stepped into her bedroom. From the nightstand, I took out the bottle of birth control pills she always took. I deftly popped out the pills inside and replaced them with the vitamins I had prepared earlier. Mom, didn't you always say I was your pride and joy? This time, I'll let you experience firsthand what it feels like to fall from the heights to the depths. The auditorium was packed with people during the opening ceremony. I took a deep breath, and only a deathly silence remained in my heart. It's my turn. I could clearly see my mother, aunt, and Lydia sitting in the front row. Their gazes felt like three sharp swords, piercing right through me. Respected leaders, teachers, and dear fellow students, I began speaking, my voice clear and steady. There was no trace of the nervousness and trembling from my previous life. A round of applause erupted from the audience. As my speech drew to a close, I followed protocol and bowed in gratitude to the entire school. The moment I straightened up, a figure suddenly rushed onto the stage from below. It's my mom. She snatched the microphone from my hand so quickly that no one had time to react. The entire room fell silent instantly. All eyes were fixed on the stage, focused squarely on my mother. Unlike my previous life where I felt chilled to the bone, my heart was now pounding wildly, not from fear, but from excitement. The suffocating feeling of being condemned by thousands in my past life flashed by, and I couldn't help but flash a strange, anticipatory smile at the stunned crowd below. The real show has finally begun. She held the microphone, her voice sharp and tearful. Principal, teachers, I'm begging you, please revoke my daughter's speaking privileges. Her words exploded like a bomb in the auditorium. I stood there, watching her performance with great interest. She doesn't deserve this. She has no right to stand here. She's nothing like the person you think she is. She screamed hysterically through her tears. Her private life is a mess. She got pregnant at such a young age. She just had an abortion a few days ago just to be able to come to school. She's extremely weak right now. The doctor said she needs bed rest. I'm afraid she'll collapse on stage if she stands too long. All eyes shifted from my mother to me. I saw the principal's face turn ashen. The teachers were whispering and murmuring among themselves. No wonder she looked so pale. She just had surgery. Who would have thought a student with such good grades would have such a messy private life? Lydia rushed to my side, her face full of concern as she supported me. Sis, are you okay? You look really pale. Quick, let's go downstairs and rest first. Her quiet voice confirmed what my mother said. I really was in poor health. I pushed her away. I watched the woman on stage, still performing with tears streaming down her face. She was still sobbing out her grievances. I only want what's best for her. What mother would ever harm her own daughter? She's just too stubborn for her own good. But health is your greatest asset. I was afraid she'd work herself to the bone and ruin her chances of having children someday. That's why I resorted to this desperate measure. What a profound mother's love. To protect her daughter's health, she was willing to tarnish the girl's reputation in front of thousands. I let out a laugh for no reason at all. My mother turned around and stared at me in disbelief. Step by step, I walked up to her. I took the microphone back from her hand, though I didn't speak loudly. My voice carried clearly throughout the auditorium through the microphone. Are you done talking? My mother was stunned by my reaction. She stared at me blankly, speechless. Ignoring her, I turned to the school administrators in the audience. My apologies, principal, esteemed teachers. I sincerely apologize for disrupting the opening ceremony due to personal family matters. I spoke in a calm tone. The principal's expression softened slightly. Classmate, I cut him off. Regarding what my mother just said, I'd like to clarify something. I turned around and faced the entire school. First of all, I'm not pregnant, and I've certainly never had an abortion. Secondly, my private life is beyond reproach. After saying this, I looked at my mother. Mom, I know you have my best interests at heart. You want me to get the exchange student spot. But you're also worried about my health and afraid I'll overexert myself. So you're trying to make the school think I have poor character to get me disqualified. Then you'll have my equally capable and healthy cousin Lydia take my place. Am I right? The moment I finished speaking, Lydia's face turned pale. My aunt panicked and immediately started waving her hands in denial. What nonsense are you talking? We did no such thing. My mother's expression grew even more grim. She never expected I'd expose her in front of everyone. She was trembling with rage. pointing a finger at me. You ungrateful daughter, after all the years I've sacrificed to raise you, this is how you repay me with slander." She started crying again, with remarkably convincing acting. "How did I end up raising such an ungrateful wretch? Every word I said is true. I dare you to go get a medical checkup." She's backing me into a corner. She forced me to prove my innocence to clear the false accusations she made against me. "Thanks, Mom, regardless of the outcome. The fact that I am under suspicion has already been established. The rumors and gossip will follow me forever. In my past life," she drove me into a corner in exactly the same way. "The school pressured me to withdraw to quell the public outcry, and she only gave me a reluctant apology when I was backed into a corner. I meant well. Who knew they'd actually believe it?" I picked up the microphone and addressed everyone in the audience. "I can undergo a medical examination to prove my innocence. But before that, I'd like everyone to watch a video first." As I spoke, I took out my phone and connected it to the auditorium's large screen. In the footage, my mother, my aunt, and Lydia were sitting together on the sofa. "It's settled then. Tomorrow, your aunt, Lydia, and I will all go to the school together. Nora is the freshman class representative, so the teachers must think highly of her. Have her tell the teacher that she's not feeling well and is voluntarily giving the opportunity to her cousin. When the teacher sees how considerate she is, they'll surely agree, too." The auditorium fell into a deathly silence once again. Everyone stared at the screen, utterly dumbfounded. My mother stood frozen in place as if struck by lightning. She pointed at me, speechless and unable to utter a single word. Lydia collapsed to the ground, paralyzed with fear. My aunt let out a piercing scream. "You were recording, you secretly filmed this." I shut off the video and put away my phone. I just have a habit of documenting life as it happens. I looked at my mother. "Mom, do you still want me to go to the hospital for a checkup now, or should we call the police first and have them determine whether this public defamation and false accusation constitutes slander?" My mother's body was almost unsteady on her feet. I tore off every last shred of her disguise right in front of everyone. Murmurs rose from the audience. "My God, is she even her real mother? She'd ruin her own daughter just to let her niece take her place. That cousin of hers is no saint either. She's way too calculating." I looked at my mother's face and felt no satisfaction whatsoever. Just then, several school security guards rushed onto the stage. "This parent, you need to leave immediately." The security guards were dragging my mother away as she screamed hysterically at me. "I'm your mother. You can't do this to me. You'll regret this. Mark my words, you'll regret it." My aunt and Lydia were also forcibly escorted out of the scene. The farce has finally come to an end. The principal came over to me and patted me on the shoulder. "My dear student, I'm sorry you had to go through this. The school will make sure justice is served." "Thank you, principal." I walked off the stage, speech in hand. I had just stepped out of the auditorium when someone blocked my path. It was Ethan, my ex-boyfriend. His face turned ashen as he grabbed my wrist. "Nora, have you lost your mind? He did the same thing in our past life, but back then his eyes held contempt and evasion. Now, they burned with rage." I watched him quietly without saying a word. "That's your mother, even if she was wrong. You can't humiliate her in front of the whole school like that. Have you thought about how I feel? What will people think of me? What will they say about me having a girlfriend who'd even scheme against her own mother?" The only thing he ever cared about was his own reputation. "Girlfriend." I pulled my hand free, then raised it and slapped him across the face with all my strength. A sharp, crisp sound made the passing students around us stop in their tracks. "Ethan, who the hell do you think you are, to dare meddle in my family affairs?" I pointed at him and spoke, enunciating every single word. "Don't flatter yourself thinking anyone is impressed by that pretentious face of yours. Get lost. From this moment on, you're dumped. Don't ever show your face around me again, or I'll beat you up every time I see you." The crowd erupted in shocked murmurs. Ethan covered his face, completely stunned. The pointing and whispering around him made him flush with alternating embarrassment and anger. You're impossible." I couldn't be bothered to give him another glance. I turned and walked away, blocking and deleting him in one swift motion. My life needs a complete reshuffle. And the first step is to take out the trash. When I got home, the house was in complete disarray. My father sat on the sofa, smoking one cigarette after another. When he saw me return, he stubbed out his cigarette. "Your mother, she's locked herself in her room and hasn't eaten all day." His voice was heavy with exhaustion and resignation. I didn't react, and headed to my own room. "Nora," my dad called out to me. "Is there some kind of misunderstanding about this? Your mother? She might not always think before she speaks or acts, but she means well. She definitely has your best interests at heart." The entire place fell silent. "For my own good? You call it for my own good?" Announcing to thousands of people that I had an abortion, giving my opportunity to someone else, even if it means ruining my reputation. "Dad, if this is what you consider for my own good, then I'd rather not have it." My father was left speechless by my words and finally let out a sigh. But she's your mother. Yeah, she is my mother, so whatever she does is right, and I just have to take it. Is that it? I ignored him and walked into the room, locking the door behind me. Early the next morning, I was woken by violent knocking at the door. Nora, get out here right now. I opened the door, and with a sharp crack, a hard slap landed across my face. You beast, were you born just to ruin me? How could I give birth to such an ungrateful wretch? You've destroyed everything I had. I hope you die a horrible death. She frantically tore at my hair, cursing me with the vilest words. How could I have raised such a heartless monster? You'd scheme against your own mother just for some lousy opportunity. I'm telling you, as long as I'm alive, you can forget about getting that exchange student spot. My dad and aunt rushed into the room as well. They pulled my mother away, but she kept hurling curses without pause. I covered my face and stayed silent. I just stared at her coldly. Lydia rushed over with faint concern. Sis, don't blame Auntie. She just had a momentary lapse in judgment. My biological mother. This is all my fault. None of this would have happened if I hadn't brought up the exchange student program. She spoke while shedding tears, putting on a pitiful act. I looked at her and suddenly laughed. Oh really? Then it's not too late for you to back out now. Lydia's sobs caught in her throat, and a flicker of panic crossed her face. My aunt immediately pushed me away. Stop bullying people here. Why should Lydia be the one to withdraw? Your mother is right. An ungrateful daughter like you doesn't deserve to go. My mother chimed in. Exactly. She's not worthy. This spot must go to Lydia. I'll go beg them again. I'll make them give the spot to Lydia. As she spoke, she actually started rushing toward the door. My father finally lost his patience and shouted, God damn it. That's enough. Aren't you ashamed enough already? Look at the state of you. My mother was stunned by his yelling and started crying even harder. You're yelling at me for this ungrateful daughter of yours? Fine. The two of you, father and daughter, ganging up on me. What's so funny? What's the point of living anymore? I don't want to live, she cried out while running toward the window, making as if to jump. The house immediately fell into chaos. My father and aunt rushed to restrain her. I stood there, watching the farce unfold with cold detachment. Mom. Just then, my mother suddenly stopped. She clutched her stomach, her face turning pale. Ouch, my stomach hurts. Cold sweat beaded on her forehead, her face contorted in pain. My aunt panicked. Sis, what's wrong? You're scaring me, my mother said weakly. I don't know, it's just these waves of cramping pain. My dad started panicking too. Quick, call an ambulance. My aunt scrambled frantically to find her phone. I watched my mother suffering without a flicker of emotion. I bowed deeply, based on when I secretly switched the medication. It should have been 2 weeks by now. My mother was still moaning and groaning, wondering if she had eaten something bad. My aunt started making wild guesses too. Did you skip dinner last night? Is it stomach cramps? My dad urged. Stop guessing. Call an ambulance now. I slowly walked over and knelt before my mother. Mom. Have you been feeling unusually tired lately, and you're always feeling nauseous too? My mother froze for a second, staring at me. How did you know? I smiled and pulled out my phone. Because I'm not feeling too great either. How about we go to the hospital and get you checked out? I didn't call 120. Instead, I dialed another number I had saved in my contacts. I put the call on speakerphone. A deep male voice boomed from the receiver. Hello, who's this? My mother's body jolted the instant she heard the voice. She looked at me, her eyes wide with terror and disbelief. The man on the other end of the line was Uncle William, my mother's first love. My father's face instantly darkened. Nora, who are you calling? I didn't answer him. Just stared quietly at my mother. Not hearing a response, Uncle William on the phone asked again, Hello, who's there? Speak up. My mother's body began trembling uncontrollably. She tried to snatch my phone, but the abdominal pain left her too weak to even lift a finger. Hang up the call, she rasped, her voice hoarse. Mom, I thought you were having stomach cramps. Uncle William is a doctor. Wouldn't it be perfect to have him take a look? Uncle William is a renowned obstetrician-gynecologist in the city. All our relatives know about this. My aunt's expression changed, and she looked at my mother with a complicated gaze. I spoke into the phone. Hello, Uncle William. This is Nora. Oh, Nora, what can I do for you? Well, my mom isn't feeling well. I was hoping you could take a look at her, I said casually. She's been feeling nauseous and having stomach pains lately. His professional instincts as an OB/GYN immediately kicked in. When was your mother's last menstrual period? The moment this question was asked, the air in the room seemed to freeze. My father stared intently at my mother's stomach. Tell me, what on earth is going on? My mother's lips were drained of all color. She glared at me with a look that could kill, yet the fear in her eyes betrayed her. She was afraid that the secret she had kept for over a decade was being exposed by me. When I noticed my mother remained silent, I gently reminded her, Mom, Uncle William is asking you a question. My mother trembled, unable to utter a single word. Seeing this, my aunt quickly stepped in to smooth things over. Well, doctor, my sister just has an upset stomach from something she ate. It's nothing serious, so we won't trouble you any further. As she spoke, she tried to snatch my phone. I dodged lightly and avoided her hand. Aunt, my mother's health is what matters most. Uncle William is an expert. We'll feel much better once he gives his diagnosis. I held the phone up to my mother's mouth again. Mom, say something. Under my intense stare, my mother finally broke down. She shoved me away and screamed at me hysterically. What the hell do you want? Are you trying to drive me to my grave? The sudden movement made her abdominal pain intensify. She was curled up on the ground, moaning in agony. My father's face was beyond description. He walked step by step toward my mother, looking down at her from above. You'd better give me an explanation. His voice was as cold as ice. My mother was in so much pain she couldn't speak, and could only shake her head repeatedly. As I watched the scene unfold, my mind was perfectly calm. I hung up the phone and then dialed 120. The ambulance arrived shortly. The paramedics lifted my mother onto the stretcher. My father never once lifted her the entire time. My aunt and Lydia followed the ambulance to the hospital. That evening, my father came home. He reeked of alcohol, having drunk heavily. Are the results out? He gave a hoarse nod. I'm pregnant. It's an ectopic pregnancy. He looked up, his eyes bloodshot as he stared at me. The baby, it's his. In my past life, after I died, my mother fell ill as well. It was due to massive bleeding from an ectopic pregnancy, and she almost didn't make it. Back then, I just thought it was retribution for all the bad things she had done. It wasn't until I was reborn that I pieced everything together. My mother never lost touch with Uncle William. My father clutched his hair in agony. What did I ever do to wrong her? After all these years of giving her my all, why would she do this to me? Because I don't know the answer either. Perhaps the original sin is simply not loving someone. Nora, did you know all along? I fell silent. He let out a self-deprecating laugh. Yeah, I'm such a fool. You all knew. And I was the only one left in the dark, like an idiot. He picked up the bottle on the table and started drinking from it again. I held his hand to stop him. Dad, that's enough drinking. You still have me. He looked at me, tears welling up in his eyes. A man nearing 50 wept like a child. This family, from today onward, is completely broken. My mother's surgery was very successful, but she was completely broken. She lay in the hospital bed, her eyes vacant. She showed no reaction when she saw me. My aunt looked somewhat awkward when she noticed me. Your mother isn't in a good mood. Don't take it to heart. I nodded and set down the fruit basket I was holding. I walked over to the hospital bed and looked at my mother. How are you feeling, Mom? She still ignored me. I didn't mind, and just kept talking to myself. Dad already knows. He's planning to divorce you. My mother's body jolted violently. She finally turned her head and stared daggers at me. The look in their eyes was filled with venomous hatred. It's you. This is all your fault. You jinx, I haven't had a single good day since you came into my life. I regret not strangling you when I had the chance. My aunt was startled and quickly covered her mouth. Sis, what nonsense are you talking about? My mother struggled, still wanting to continue scolding. Go ahead and scold me. After all, there won't be many chances left. Dad has already had the lawyer draft the divorce papers. You won't get a single penny from the house, the car, or our savings. Because you were the one who committed adultery first. My mother's eyes widened even more. She couldn't believe that the man who had always been so compliant with her could be this ruthless. Impossible. He wouldn't dare. He loves me so much. He would never do this to me. She seemed to be trying to convince me, or perhaps convincing herself. I took out my phone and opened a recording. That was my father's drunken confession last night. Finally, he said, I really want to kill her. After the recording finished, my mother fell completely silent. The color drained completely from her face. Aunt, I suggest you start making preparations too. What do you mean? Dad's company is currently undergoing an audit. I heard someone has been embezzling a considerable amount of company funds by abusing their position, and that person, he looked like my uncle. I handled my father's company accounts in my previous life, so I know exactly where all the financial discrepancies are. My aunt's face instantly darkened. How dare you make such baseless accusations? I didn't say anything at all. I'm just reminding you, in these troubled times, it's best to be cautious. With that, I ignored them and walked out of the hospital room. Back at school, my academic advisor approached me. He informed me that after discussion, the university had decided to reopen the selection process for the exchange student spots, in a fair, just, and transparent manner, for, as I stepped out of the office, I ran into Lydia. When she saw me, she averted her gaze and tried to slip past. I called out to stop her. Lydia, she stopped in her tracks and forced a smile. My mom's in the hospital. Aren't you going to visit her? I've just been really busy with school lately. I walked up to her and stared her down. I heard you've been busy going on dates with Ethan lately. Lydia's face instantly flushed bright red. That's nonsense. We're just friends. Just friends. I chuckled, deciding not to push her buttons with the photo any further. Fine. I wish you both happiness. I left those words hanging as I walked past her. I laughed. I know that she and Ethan are just using each other for their own ends, but I have more important matters to attend to. The selection process for exchange students has begun. On the day of the written exam, I saw Lydia. She wore a white dress, looking pure and innocent. Slap. When she saw me, she took the initiative to greet me. Sis, you're here too. She looked me up and down, a scornful smile curling at the corner of her mouth. But opportunities like this should be fair game for everyone. Unlike some people, with that family scandal hanging over them, who knows if the judges will even overlook it? There was a faint, almost imperceptible hint of provocation in her tone. I ignored her and walked straight into the examination hall. In my previous life, I had spent a long time preparing for this exam. I have mastered every piece of knowledge inside out. This time, it was even more of a breeze. When the written exam results came out, I unsurprisingly took first place. Lydia ranked fifth. Just barely making it to the interview. On the day of the interview, we were assigned to the same group. There were 3 interviewers, our dean and 2 foreign professors. Lydia was ahead of me in line. She delivered a remarkable self-introduction in fluent English. She spoke about her humble family background and how she overcame hardships through diligent study. She expressed her longing to attend prestigious universities abroad. Her heartfelt delivery was so moving that she nearly moved herself to tears. The 2 foreign professors were visibly moved by her story. The dean nodded in approval. It was my turn. My self-introduction was brief. I simply stated my name, my major, and my academic achievements. No sob stories, no emotional manipulation. The dean seemed somewhat disappointed. A foreign professor raised a question. Nora, we've seen that your written exam results are outstanding. However, we believe that an outstanding exchange student requires not only excellent academic performance but also strong psychological resilience and adaptability. Do you believe you possess these qualities? This question was clearly aimed at all that family drama I've been dealing with. I have a feeling Lydia has been working behind the scenes on this. I looked at him and replied with quiet confidence, I believe I possess it. Because I have experienced despair, and I have overcome it. Nothing tempers a person's resolve more than having faced death once. My words left all 3 interviewers speechless. I offered no explanation. I simply looked at them calmly. I knew they would look into it. The outcome of the investigation will only work in my favor. After the interview, I ran into Lydia in the hallway. That phrase again. She looked at me with a smug expression. Sis, I think I did pretty well this time. Who do you think the school will choose? I looked at her hypocritical face and found it somewhat amusing. The results came out quickly. The final list of selected candidates was published on the school's official website. I was reading in the library when I saw the list. My phone vibrated. It was a WeChat message from Lydia, a screenshot. It was a notification from the official website. On what grounds? I replied with just 2 words, on my authority. Then, I blocked her. I thought that was the end of it. I smiled wryly to myself. To my surprise, Lydia still wouldn't give up. She went to my father's company. She wanted my father to intervene and persuade the school to make me give up my spot for her. In the end, security guards from my dad's company threw him out on the spot, because my uncle's embezzlement had been uncovered. With both witnesses and physical evidence present, he was taken away by the police for investigation. My aunt caused a scene at the company, accusing my dad of framing him. My dad sent the lawyer's letter directly to her house. He's suing her for defamation. That finally made my aunt behave herself. As for my mom, she's been staying at my aunt's place ever since she left the hospital. It stung like fire. She didn't dare go home, nor face my father. I heard she used all her savings to hire a lawyer for her uncle. Unfortunately, it was all for nothing. The embezzled amount was huge. Prison time is inevitable. This family is completely finished. I've completed all the paperwork and am ready to go abroad. The day before my departure, I received an unexpected phone call. It was from Uncle William. He asked to meet with me. We met at a cafe. Uncle William looked much more haggard than the last time. He just looked at me quietly. You look just like your mother. He spoke, his voice raspy. He gave a bitter smile. I know you hate her. You hate me too. I admitted it without hesitation. Yes, I hate you. I hate your selfishness for destroying 2 families. After a long silence, he finally spoke slowly. What happened back then was my fault. I shouldn't have kept seeing her after she got married. I thought we were just friends. Friends, I sneered. Friends who sleep together. My words left no room for pleasantries. His face turned deathly pale in an instant. I know it's too late for any explanations now. I'm not here today to ask for your forgiveness. I just Need to tell you some things. He said that back then, he and my mother were truly in love, but his family was poor, and my grandparents were dead set against their relationship. They even threatened to disown my mother if she didn't comply. Left with no other choice, my mother ended up marrying my father. After getting married, she never found true happiness, until one day, she crossed paths with him again, old flames reignited, and things quickly spiraled out of control. She told me she didn't love your father, that being with him felt suffocating and agonizing. She said you're her only hope. Hope? I let out a bitter laugh, as if hearing the most absurd joke. The hope of using me as a pawn to manipulate others, the hope of trading me like a bargaining chip for her own gains. If this is what she wished for, then I'd rather she never wished at all. Uncle William closed his eyes in anguish. Nora, I know she's done many wrong things, but she truly did love you. She just went about it the wrong way. You call this love, is throwing me under the bus. Your idea of love is ruining my life for your own selfish desires. What you call love, Uncle William, you're a father with a daughter too. If your own daughter went through what I have, would you still be here defending her mother? He was completely lost for words. You never know how much it hurts until the needle pricks your own skin. He thought he had my mother all figured out, but in reality, he knew nothing at all. He had no idea how controlling she could be, or how terrifying her vanity was. Little did I know how far she would go to achieve her goals, stopping at nothing. Her so-called love was cheap and laughable. There's one more thing I came here for today. Uncle William took a bank card out of his bag and slid it across to me. There's some money in here. It's not much, but consider it compensation. I stared at the card without moving. I don't need it. I know you don't need this, but your mother asked me to give it to you. She said she's sorry. She said you're the person she regrets hurting most in her entire life. She wants you to take this money, build a good life abroad, and never come back. As I looked at him, it suddenly dawned on me. This isn't compensation, it's hush money. She's scared, afraid I'll spill all her dirty secrets. Terrified of losing the last shred of her dignity. How pathetic. Even at this point, she was still only thinking about herself. I picked up the card. Just as Uncle William thought I would accept it, I snapped it in half right in front of him. Then, I threw it into the nearby trash can. Tell her, the game has only just begun. I won't let this slide. I walked out of the cafe without looking back. I didn't go home. I went to my aunt's place instead. Lydia was the one who answered the door. She looked at me as if she'd seen a ghost. What are you doing here? She looked pale with heavy dark circles under her eyes, completely devoid of her usual vitality. I ignored her and walked straight in. The place was small and messy. My aunt was sitting on the sofa, sighing heavily. When she saw me, she froze for a moment, then stood up. What are you doing here? You're not welcome in this house. My mother came out of the room. She was in her pajamas, with disheveled hair and a vacant stare. When she saw me, as if triggered by something, she suddenly let out a scream. What are you doing here, you jinx? Get out. She grabbed an apple from the table and hurled it at me. An apple fell and hit me right on the forehead. It really hurt. Mom, I'm leaving tomorrow. I came to say goodbye. My words made my mother freeze mid-action. She looked at me with a complicated expression in her eyes. Leave? And where exactly would you go? She sneered. Did you think moving abroad would be enough to get rid of me? Let me tell you, Nora, you will always be my daughter. You have my blood running through your veins. Don't you ever think you can cut ties with me in this lifetime? My aunt chimed in from the side. Exactly. Don't forget who changed your diapers and raised you from infancy. Now that you've grown wings, you think you can disown your own mother. Have you no conscience? Lydia spoke up timidly. Sis, Auntie, she really misses you. What a ridiculous family. After all this time, you're still putting on an act. I didn't come here today to pick a fight with you. I took a document out of my bag and placed it on the table. This is a severance agreement. I've already signed it. The call connected almost instantly. Once you sign it too, from now on, we go our separate ways. No ties, no obligations. All three of them were stunned. They probably never expected me to go this far. My mother was the first to snap out of it. She charged over like a madwoman and tore the agreement to shreds. Cut ties, over my dead body. Listen to me, Nora. I'll never agree to this. She suddenly rushed into the kitchen and emerged moments later clutching a kitchen knife. She pointed the blade at me, her eyes bloodshot and face contorted with rage. You think you're all grown up now? This is all your fault. You've destroyed our family. Your father divorced me. Your uncle got arrested. All because of you, you jinx. You think you can just walk away now? Not a chance. She advanced step by step, the blade glinting coldly. 5. Today, you either hand over all the money for your overseas studies, or we die together. I brought you into this world, and I can take you out of it. Her true ugly nature was completely exposed. She doesn't love me, she only values what I can offer. The moment I lose my usefulness or refuse to be used by her, I become her greatest enemy. I look at Lydia, and you, Lydia. Did you really think no one would find out about what you've done? To secure that exchange student spot, you anonymously reported me to the school, accusing me of academic fraud and misconduct. Did you really think I didn't know? Lydia's face instantly turned deathly pale. I didn't. You didn't. I took out my phone and played a recording. It was a call log between her and her friend. I smiled faintly. That fool actually thinks I genuinely care about her. Once I secure the spot and go abroad, no one will even remember who she is. Lydia collapsed to the ground, unable to utter a single word. I casually sent the recording to Ethan, along with a message. Your new girlfriend is quite the schemer. My aunt was dumbstruck, trembling with rage. You. I watched the chaotic scene unfold, my heart completely unmoved, facing the knife in my mother's hand. I didn't retreat but instead stepped forward, offering my neck. I calmly gazed into her frenzied eyes. Didn't you say you regret not strangling me? Here's your chance. Stab me right here, end it all. Then you can go demand a huge compensation for emotional distress from my dad, maybe even leech off Uncle William for life. My mother was stunned by my action. Her hand gripping the knife began to tremble. She kept cursing under her breath, but didn't dare to actually stab down. That's just the kind of person she is, all bark and no bite. A bully who preys on the weak but fears the strong. I pushed away her knife-wielding hand and walked out the door with unwavering resolve. Behind me echoed her impotent screams and the sound of shattering objects. I knew that my life was truly beginning from this moment onward. Story 2. Our master obtained 2 mysterious eggs by chance and had my junior sister and me each pick one. My junior sister immediately claimed the dazzling golden one, leaving me with the dull, lifeless egg. To everyone's surprise, her egg turned out to be stillborn, while mine hatched a legendary 9-tailed white fox unseen for millennia, revered by both our sect and the Qingqiu lineage. Yet the fox only had eyes for my naturally gifted junior sister, even draining my lifeblood to save her. When I opened my eyes again, I'd been reborn on the day of the egg selection. My junior sister unhesitatingly chose that white fox egg. I knew then, she had been reborn too, little did she know. White foxes are creatures of endless hunger. Our master obtained 2 mystical beast eggs in the secret realm and summoned both my junior sister and me to the hall, instructing us to choose one each. One egg shimmered with dazzling golden radiance, while the other appeared dull and lifeless. Before I could speak, my junior sister blurted out eagerly, "Let senior sister take the better-looking egg." Our master looked utterly baffled and asked in disbelief, "Lyriel, are you certain?" After all, our youngest sister had been pampered since childhood, then pursued by countless noble admirers who showered her with attention. She'd always picked the finest things without hesitation. Yet this time she uncharacteristically passed over the obviously magnificent choice for the plain-looking one. The junior sister quickly backpedaled with faint concern. "It doesn't matter if I can't hatch anything special. My brothers will fetch whatever I desire." I laughed. "But senior sister is different. She should have this better quality egg." The master looked at her with approval. Lyriel has grown up at last. She's finally learned thoughtfulness. Were it not for my past life memories, I might have actually thanked her for her consideration. 1. I knew exactly why my junior sister was acting so strangely. In our previous life, obsessed with only the best, she'd unhesitatingly chosen the golden glowing egg. With faint concern, she told me, "I feared hatching this might drain senior sister's resources, so I'll reluctantly take this one instead." Yet despite lavishing it daily with rare treasures, the egg's golden radiance dimmed until it became utterly lifeless. Celestial beast eggs were always rare treasures, so she had to settle for forming a pact with a juvenile beast that had already hatched. Though the young beast boasted noble lineage, its wild instincts remained untamed. During an expedition, it broke the contract and turned on her, nearly costing my junior sister her life. Yet I succeeded in hatching a 9-tailed white fox, a creature unseen for millennia. The fox owed its existence to me, and thus became utterly devoted to my care. The demon clans place utmost importance on bloodline. Sensing my aura, the fox tribe of Qingqiu rushed over and treated me as an honored guest. Our sect also began allocating resources to me due to Qingqiu's favor, hoping to establish cooperation through my connection. Overnight, I became the undisputed rising star, even surpassing the treatment of the sect's former golden child. Consumed by jealousy, she made several covert attempts to provoke me, only to be sternly reprimanded by our master. Even her doting brothers warned her against willfulness, for I alone was the true master of that 9-tailed fox. Yet only I knew the fox's nature, lustful and wicked, ever thirsting to beguile mortal hearts. After I resisted its temptations of dual cultivation yet again, the fox set its sights on my junior sister, born with the perfect physique for such dark arts. When we both fell into the abyss of 10,000 demons, it drained my very lifeblood without hesitation to save her instead, as the embodiment of a supreme elixir. My flesh neutralizes all poisons while my blood, a sacred essence, not only detoxifies but enhances cultivation, perfect for cleansing the demonic corruption from Junior Sister's spiritual roots. I laughed. Before my vital essence drained completely, I saw her nestled in the white fox's embrace, smirking at me. Elder sister, see, he's always loved only me. You stole all these years from us. We should have been together long ago. Not a word about how she'd snatched that golden glowing egg first all those years ago. My spirit lingered above the sect after death, and I witnessed the white fox never revealing its true nature until their dying breath. 02, convinced of the white fox's undying love, my junior sister eagerly chose its egg the moment she reincarnated. Watching my junior sister strut away smugly, I lowered my head to suppress my laughter. Without my deliberate restraint, I wonder if she'll satisfy that insatiable fox's appetite. I brought the egg back to my cave dwelling and casually placed it on the stone table. Seeing its golden radiance now, I truly can't imagine it becoming lifeless in the future. Our sword sect was always poor, while my junior sister received treasures from her admirers across the realms. I lacked both her connections and such rare spiritual materials. In this entire cave abode, the only thing of any value might just be myself. Following my past life's experience of raising white foxes, I painstakingly dripped a drop of blood from my finger onto the egg. Ripples briefly shimmered across its surface before vanishing, while the golden glow dimmed slightly, just as the rumors described. Not that I'd held much hope anyway. A single drop of blood meant little. Gathering my belongings, I strapped the egg to my back and headed for the archives. I'd made this same journey in my previous life when first obtaining the white fox egg. Back then I spent days searching for books on egg rearing, but now with experience, it's become much easier. The books mention that eggs emitting golden radiance often possess awakened intelligence, with brighter glow indicating higher cognitive levels. As for the egg in my hands, it's already aware of the outside world. When to hatch will be entirely its own decision, so the most crucial thing is, keep it in good spirits. I was lost in thought. Since then, I've tried many ways to cheer up the egg, only to discover it particularly enjoys listening to stories. I felt truly relieved. After all, even the youngest disciple in our sect would weep upon hearing my stories. Decades of pent-up storytelling inspiration had become terrifyingly abundant. As I kept narrating, time seemed to stand still, until one day, the entire sect suddenly trembled as endless storm clouds gathered across the sky for thousands of miles. The whole sect was startled awake, rushing to the training grounds to witness the spectacle. I knew it, the white fox was about to emerge. In my past life, I endured this heavenly tribulation too. 81 lightning strikes from dawn till midnight. I barely survived through sheer will, left completely unconscious by the ordeal. My junior sister was clearly far luckier than I. One after another, she hurled golden glowing divine artifacts and talismans skyward. Within moments, the storm clouds dispersed. The snow-white fox with glossy fur nestled in the junior sister's hands, its 9 tails elegantly fanned out behind, a far cry from its previous life's wretchedness, making the young maiden resemble a celestial goddess descended from the heavens. The Qingqiu elders had sensed its aura and rushed over, cautiously approaching with reverence. A 9-tailed fox, truly a 9-tailed fox, the legendary beast is born. This brings immense fortune to Qingqiu. Our deepest gratitude, Immortal Lyrial. Eternal thanks to Immortal Lyrial. The junior sister feigned modesty while clutching the fox tighter, her eyes betraying unconcealed triumph. As the newborn fox cannot be separated from me presently, I humbly request the elders and sect master to deliberate carefully on subsequent arrangements. With affected grace, she approached me and inquired with false concern. A full month has passed. Dare I ask what progress senior sister has made with that egg of yours? I lowered my head without looking at her and said indifferently, naturally, I can't compare to junior sister. As expected, junior sister smiled and tried to take my hand, but I instinctively pulled away. She took 2 steps back and, in an instant, tearfully said, senior sister, I shouldn't have shown you the white fox. I didn't know your egg hadn't hatched yet. I didn't mean to. Just as she expected, the training grounds erupted in jeers and mocking laughter from the disciples. One voice cut through the noise, Sora can't match Lyrial's cultivation, and now she can't even hatch an egg. How is she fit to be our senior sister in charge? Step down already, let Lyrial take over. Useless Sora, give up your position. I glanced at the person and recognized him as that chubby junior disciple. I knew him all too well. He was the least diligent in cultivation among all disciples, constantly fawning over our junior sister instead. I'd reprimanded him several times for it. Little did I know he'd been nursing a grudge. Many chimed in agreement, but when I looked around, they were all the same sycophants who'd fawned over me after the white fox's reincarnation. I scoffed inwardly. Who knew the cultivation world could be this fickle? The junior sister paled, stammering about being unworthy. until that portly disciple cut her off with words dripping with disdain for me. Then let the junior sister take the senior disciple's position. 3. I glanced at the disciples in the training yard with an unreadable expression. This position was always a burden to me, shedding it feels like a weight lifted, but as for them, the junior sister only cares about herself, she'd never bother drilling them daily. In the cultivation world, might makes right, without absolute power. One can only meet a grim end. The leading disciples hastily cheered, while the few who glimpsed the truth were swallowed by the whirlpool of power. The junior sister hesitated before accepting, then calmly basked in their flattery and encouragement, but in the shadows unseen, she smirked at me triumphantly. See, senior sister, this time it's me they revere. My heart remained utterly calm as I coolly glanced at my junior sister. The white fox hasn't endured the heavenly tribulation. You're on your own, little sister. Without waiting for her response, I turned and walked away. Heavenly thunder, inherently righteous and violent, is the perfect counter to the white fox's lascivious aura. Now that it's escaped the tribulation, who knows what calamity may follow, though I pretended not to care. Upon returning, I couldn't resist poking the egg on my desk. When will you finally hatch? The egg wobbled, its golden glow flickering on and off like a petulant tantrum. I chuckled and, as usual, told it a story before beginning my cultivation, unnoticed by all. The egg beside me pulsed with crimson light as the world's spiritual energy flowed into my body. Half a year passed in this manner when I suddenly received a message from my master. The celestial cloud realm is about to open. Having lost track of time while storytelling, I received word that the sex expedition was moments away from departure. I barely made it to the assembly point before departure. Immediately spotting junior sister at the center of the formation, she'd grown even more radiant since last we met. Unlike her former ethereal purity, like an unattainable lotus above the clouds that drew admirers yet deterred touch, she now bloomed fully into her prime. Her innate dual cultivation physique had awakened completely, radiating an almost imperceptible yet intoxicating allure with every stance. Beside her stood a man in pristine white robes. His demeanor transcendent, until fleeting glimpses revealed something uncannily otherworldly beneath the surface. The transformed white fox in human form. At my arrival, my junior sister remarked with thinly veiled sarcasm, "How gracious of our senior sister to finally grace us with her presence. We've all been waiting." Many disciples chimed in to support her, but I paid no mind. Instead, I bowed to the elder leading our group. "My apologies for the delay. I've kept everyone waiting." The elder stroked his beard and glanced at the sky. "No matter, we haven't reached the departure time yet." At these words, my junior sister's face flushed then paled. Only after stealing a glance at the man beside her did she regain composure. "Senior sister, I haven't introduced you. This is Soren, the world's only nine-tailed white fox who achieved human form in just 3 months. Soren." A suspicion crept into my mind. Wasn't that the exact name I'd given the white fox in my past life? My junior sister kept boasting, yet the protagonist she spoke of didn't even spare her a glance. Soren's eyes remained fixed on me as he furrowed his brow and stepped forward. "Sora, you..." Before he could finish, my junior sister interrupted. "By the way, senior sister, where's your egg?" Soren's expression changed instantly. Pushing past my junior sister, he stared at me in disbelief. "Your egg, Sora, you have another egg." My junior sister stood frozen in awkward silence. While I found this whole farce rather amusing, so Soren had been reborn too, I watched him leisurely and said, "That's right, Soren, didn't your junior sister tell you, back when there were 2 eggs, she chose you, while I ended up with the other one?" His face turned deathly pale as he tried to grab me, but I shook him off. "Soren, your master is over there." Only then did Soren whirl around to face his junior sister, only to find her livid. "Soren, what were you just doing?" I didn't bother watching what unfolded between them. I walked into Lingzhou's room, casually picked up the egg, and collapsed onto the bed. The egg seemed to sense my gloom, fluttering close to nuzzle my hair and hands until my vision swam. I scooped it down into my arms and murmured, "Egglet, let me tell you another story. In my past life, I'd also visited the Celestial Cloud Sanctuary with my junior martial sister. It's just that Soren was originally brought here by me. We both underwent metamorphosis in March, yet on his very first day transformed, Soren made advances toward me. I firmly rejected him each time. For 3 straight months, every attempt he made to seduce me ended in failure, so during the secret realm gathering, he set his sights on my junior sister instead. His desire was blatant as he pointed at our junior sister and asked me, "Sora, can I practice dual cultivation with her?" I looked at him sternly and refused without hesitation. "No, Soren." Seeing his resentful expression, I sighed. "Soren, dual cultivation is ultimately not the righteous path. You mustn't. Enough already." Soren cut me off impatiently. "You've said this 1,000 times. Give it a rest." I sighed, brushing off his words, only to regret having annoyed him. To make amends, I resolved to retrieve the life exchange pearl for him. The life exchange pearl exists solely within the celestial cloud secret realm. True to its name, obtaining this pearl grants a second life. No matter how severe the injury, as long as one's soul remains intact, it preserves the last breath of life. But the pearl blooms only once every 50 years, guarded by a divine white tiger at the deity transformation realm. An impossible foe for ordinary cultivators. That's why few would compete for the life exchange pearl, yet against all odds, both my junior sister and I went for it. With Soren's help, I'd actually succeeded in obtaining the life exchange pearl, but before I could get far, my junior sister suddenly launched her attack. The aura of the life exchange pearl leaked during the scuffle. As tremors rumbled in the distance, my face paled and I instinctively grabbed Soren's hand. The guardian spirit beast has sensed us, run. But then my junior sister's contracted celestial beast suddenly went berserk, breaking their pact to lunge at her. Senior sister, help me. Gritting my teeth, I turned back, only to be blindsided by a surge of spiritual energy that sent me sprawling right in front of my junior sister. The contracted spirit beast's fangs sank deep into my shoulder, sending waves of searing pain through my body. Gritting my teeth, I wrenched the creature off me with brute force. Chunks of flesh were torn away, leaving my shoulder a mangled mess, but survival left no room for pain. The frenzied beast lunged at the white tiger's head, buying us precious seconds to escape. Scooping up my junior sister, I dashed towards Soren. As he reached to catch her, residual energy slammed into my abdomen. Exhausted beyond measure, I was effortlessly pushed toward the white tiger. Watching Soren's panicked expression, an eerie calm settled over me. The moment I fell into the beast's maw, a radiant light burst from my body, a sword's will manifesting as it slashed directly toward the tiger. The white tiger collapsed with a thunderous crash. As I lay before its gaping jaws, darkness claimed me while watching Soren sprint toward my fallen form. When I awoke, my junior sister was gone. Soren sat by the campfire, roasting a pheasant in his hands. Seeing me awake, Soren hastily dropped the pheasant and hugged me. Sobbing uncontrollably, his tears fell on my shoulders, sending waves of pain through me. I couldn't help but nudge him. What are you crying for? He bit his lip, looking at me with pitiful eyes. I'm sorry, Sora. It's all my fault, all my fault. I was just too nervous, but I was so scared. Sora, I didn't mean to. I was just terrified. I only wanted to hug Lyriel. I never meant to push you away. The heart-wrenching sobs grated on my nerves. But this was the little fox I'd hatched with my own hands after all. My heart softened as I reached up to pat his head. Hush now, stop crying, I believe you. His head jerked up, eyes brimming with hope as he looked at me. Really, Sora, you actually believe in me? He burst into laughter abruptly, only for his face to fall the next second. But I'm so useless, Sora. He hugged me silently, his voice muffled against my body. I was terrified when I saw you fall. I didn't know. I don't know where I threw the life-saving pearl. His voice choked up again as he spoke. Am I really that useless, Sora? The ridiculous part, I actually bought his excuse, I said with a bitter laugh. Even though his acting was so clumsy, I still fell for it. I kept believing he was genuinely panicked, that he was just too worried about me, after falling into the abyss of demons. He used the life-sustaining pearl to keep Lyriel barely alive throughout the entire blood transfusion ritual, sensing my distress. The egg nuzzled my head in an attempt to comfort me, but misjudged its strength and ended up headbutting me instead. With a loud clang, sharp pain shot through me, making me instantly forget all the foolish things I'd done in my past life. Damn, egg. It seemed to realize its good intentions had backfired, and darted to another corner of the room in a flash. The egg's pathetic demeanor made me both annoyed and amused. Who knows what kind of creature's inside that egg? Developing such a bully's temperament, tough on the weak but timid before the strong, I laughed. But before I could decide its fate, the spirit vessel touched down. Everything unfolded exactly as I remembered from my past life. The only difference was, this time, it was my junior sister who accompanied Soren to retrieve the life exchange pearl. As for me, I'd lost all interest in that thing, yet in this second chance at life, what once required desperate effort now comes handed to me on a silver platter. I was warming myself by the fire in the cave when Soren found me. His pristine white clothes were now charred black, and his usually silky hair had become tangled. He approached me cautiously, wiped the bloodstains off the life exchange pearl, and handed it to me, saying, Sora, I've brought back your life exchange pearl. Brought it back. Some things, once missed, lose their appeal forever. The life exchange pearl was like that, and so was Soren, I scoffed, using the same tricks you played on me to deceive our junior sister now. Let me guess, pushing her out as bait to distract the white tiger while you escaped. After she wakes up, tell her through tears that you were just panicked, you never meant to push her, then play the sympathy card, so you've no idea where you dropped the life transfer bead, right, Soren? With every word I spoke, Soren grew paler. his arms trembling uncontrollably, for, as I finished speaking, he stammered with trembling lips, "You remember everything." I curled my lips slightly. "That's right, Soren, didn't you know? I was reborn too, so that's why I don't want you anymore." The moment those words left my mouth, tears welled in Soren's eyes as all color drained from his face. "No, no, Sora, please, give me another chance, just one more chance, I beg you." Watching him grovel before me sent waves of dark satisfaction through my veins. A vicious smile curled my lips as I said, "Soren, I gave you your chance, you threw it away. No, you get nothing. No, no, and no." Soren's composure shattered completely. He surged to his feet, eyes burning with madness. "Sora, you can't do this. After everything you've done for me, all your kindness, how could you abandon me now? How could you?" I raised my sword and pointed it at him without hesitation. The blade's energy coalesced at its tip, radiating waves of lethal intent, yet he advanced toward me as if blind to the threat. The sword pierced his chest, blood streaming down the steel, yet he showed no pain, just stared at me vacantly. "Sora, look at me, look at me. It's always been me you loved. You've only ever loved me. We swore to spend our lives together." A wave of dizziness hit me. This is bad, I thought, having fallen for such temptations countless times in past lives. I knew exactly what this was, but in this lifetime, the white fox emerged without heavenly tribulations to restrain it, and my junior sister indulged his every whim with early dual cultivation. Now his bewitching arts had grown at least twice as potent as before. My grip on the sword grew weak. Biting through my lower lip to stay conscious, I channeled all my spiritual energy into the blade and thrust forward. Blood gushed from Soren's wound, yet he seemed utterly indifferent. Mechanically repeating those same phrases, the hallucinations grew more vivid, my lips already stained with blood, yet nothing could withstand Soren's obsession. I felt my body moving towards Soren against my will. Just as I was about to fall into his embrace, a blinding golden light erupted, and crimson clouds swept me away into another scorching arms. As the fog in my mind cleared, I found myself staring at an achingly familiar face. My heart lurched. In truth, I didn't immediately reincarnate after death in my past life. My spirit lingered above the sect, unable to move on for the longest time. I watched Soren use the same sweet words on my junior sister that he once used on me. I saw them lost in their affection, occasionally reminiscing about my past. After their intimate moments, my junior sister would always deliberately bring me up, clinging to Soren's arm while coquettishly asking, "Soren, who do you think is better, me or senior sister?" Soren would always embrace her indulgently and say without mercy, "Lyriel, she's neither as beautiful nor as amusing as you. Even in cultivation, she just rigidly follows rules without any flexibility. How could she ever compare to you?" I couldn't help but smile bitterly. So all those times I pushed him to practice and patiently taught him sword techniques were just seen as inflexibility. The junior sister was utterly charmed by Soren's sweet words, and before long, they were betrothed. Throughout the realms, all marveled at their perfect match, a love written in the stars. None remembered the white fox once had another master. They stood in crimson wedding robes threaded with golden light, as phoenixes sang blessings and auspicious beasts led the procession beneath fireworks painting the sky in flames. They passed beneath the sect's archway, through waves of admiration and well wishes, down the path I'd paved with my own blood, until at last they reached the grand hall. Just then, a streak of light came streaking from the distance. The grand hall was mercilessly reduced to rubble. Holding his junior sister, Soren frowned toward the horizon. "Venerable one, why do you disrupt our wedding?" Without a word, the figure conjured two radiant plumes with spiritual energy. The crimson plumes pierced returning clouds like tidal waves, shaking heaven and earth as a phoenix's cry echoed across the 9 heavens. The elders of Qingqiu formed a defensive array before Soren, pleading, "Phoenix Sovereign, stay your hand. Whatever grievance our clan has caused you, we shall repay 100-fold. We beg you to spare our celestial fox." Yet the phoenix feather showed no mercy. Against the might of an ancient divine beast, their resistance was as futile as a mantis trying to stop a chariot. Without even a moment's pause, the feather pierced through the formation and struck both Soren and his junior sister. The feather dissolved into a streak of light upon impact, vanishing from this world. Only their wounds remained, blood gushing forth. The junior sister kept crying brother, through her tears, yet no one dared, or could it save her. Soren stared at the distant mist in bitter disbelief. Why? The thick fog gradually dissipated, revealing a silhouette. He glanced indifferently in their direction and said flatly, "I owe Sora a debt. This settles the score." Amidst the swirling clouds, I caught sight of that familiar face, the very same person who's holding me now. Gone was his former noble composure as he buried his face in my neck, nuzzling pitifully. "Why no story today? Did the little carp find its mother?" My body stiffened before I could stop the words. "Oh yes, turned into a steaming pot of tender sauerkraut fish." He paused for a moment before asking, "Where's little carp?" "Oh, little carp is that braised carp on the table." He chuckled and held me tighter. That's a good story, tell me again next time. Before I could respond, Soren, who'd been knocked to the ground, struggled up, bloodshot eyes locked onto me. Him again, Sora. Who is he? Who the hell is he? It was him in our past life. He killed me to avenge you, and now it's him again. Suddenly realizing something, he stared at me wildly. So you've been with him all along. No wonder he owed you favors. Frantically crawling forward to grasp my hem, he pleaded, Sora, Sora. We're the same kind. You betrayed me too, didn't you? I can pretend nothing ever happened. Let's wipe the slate clean. Can't we go back to how things were before? I watched the disheveled Soren calmly, expecting to feel anger at his words, yet strangely, my heart remained utterly undisturbed. I gazed at him indifferently, as if he were a mere stranger. Soren, don't project your filthy heart onto others. Not everyone in this world is as insatiable and heartless as you are. Spiritual energy gathered around my blade once more, and with overwhelming force, the sword's aura surged forth, mercilessly piercing through Soren's body. This blade repays your betrayal that threw me to the wolves. The sword rose in a crimson mist as Soren shrieked horribly, yet I drove the blade deeper into his flesh without hesitation. This thrust settles your debt for draining my lifeblood. Blood gushed forth as the hoarse Soren clawed at the ground in desperate retreat, only to be anchored by my merciless strike. This strike repays your treachery, a celestial beast repaying kindness with malice. 5. I gazed impassively at Soren, frozen in place as if life had left him, a nine-tailed fox revered by Qingqiu as the celestial fox wouldn't perish so easily, yet this wound alone would take him eons to recover from. After all, death would be too merciful. The grand spectacle awaits, and he's still got a role to play. I sheathed my sword and led the phoenix out of the cave without looking back. After the sword, we're through. Only after stepping outside did I realize the awkwardness of holding someone else's lean, calloused hand in mine. Before I could pull away, my hand was seized in a firm grip as a warm body pressed against my back. You were magnificent just now, my wife. Who's your wife? I instinctively struggled, but it felt like being trapped in iron shackles, utterly immovable. Before I could speak, he started complaining. Darling, how could you? Just 2 days ago you were clinging to me in bed, and now you're giving me the cold shoulder. I froze. Outrageous. I'm a proper young lady. When have I ever slept clinging to some grown man? Since taking form, I've only held that egg for a few days at most. Wait, suddenly it dawned on me, and I stared at him in disbelief. You're Eggy, he nodded with a finally figured-it-out expression mixed with slight disdain. Don't call me Eggy, I have a name, Lucius. I nodded in understanding, then looked at him nervously. Wait, shouldn't I technically be your mother? How did I become your wife instead? He chuckled with utter composure. Because in our Phoenix clan, husbands must be hatched by their own mates. Since you hatched me, I'm your husband now. I stood there looking utterly devastated, regretting for the first time ever having put so much care into incubating that egg. Sensing my reluctance, Lucius turned me to face him and murmured ominously, too late for regrets, my bride. I've already marked you as mine. Neither heaven nor earth can hide you from me now. I gasped. Marked me. Without a word, he took my hand and said, close your eyes. Draw upon the deepest spiritual energy from your dantian and release it. Compelled by his words, my consciousness wandered through my spiritual core, delving deeper until it touched that primordial essence. An ineffable sensation washed over me as the spiritual energy gradually channeled through my meridians, gathering in my palm. I opened my eyes and unleashed a surge of spiritual power toward the distant forest. In an instant, the forest was reduced to ashes without a trace, leaving only scorching heat lingering in the air. I stared at my hands in disbelief. Unable to accept that I had unleashed that devastating strike, Lucius tipped my hand with a smile. My wife is truly remarkable. I turned to him. The flames within that spiritual energy just now, were those the marks you spoke of? Lucius nodded. But ordinary people's spiritual energy doesn't blend this perfectly with fire, nor would the power be this immense. Before my birth, my abilities were feeble. I merely imbued the spiritual energy with a trace of Phoenix Fire's essence. The true magnitude of this power comes from my lady's relentless daily training. I bit my lip, gazing steadily at him. Regardless, thank you, at the very least. Without Lucius, my vengeance against Soren would never have been this straightforward. From that day onward, Lucius remained by my side. He keeps calling me wifey no matter how many times I correct him. Unlike Soren, he never forces me into dual cultivation. Though disappointed when I refused, he quickly bounced back, clinging to me while teaching me how to channel Phoenix flames through spiritual energy. Born with the Phoenix clan's millennia-old legacy, Lucius guided my rapid cultivation growth. Through battling mystical beasts in secret realms, I've gained considerable combat experience. On the day we were about to leave the secret realm, I found myself strangely reluctant to go. Lucius tugged at my sleeve with a smile. We can always come back another time. There's still a grand spectacle waiting for us. I returned his smile and stepped out of the mystical domain with him, but the world beyond the secret realm felt heavy with oppression. The sect's lead elder noticed me emerging with an unfamiliar man and inquired, "And who might this be?" I bowed respectfully and replied, "This is Lucius, who hatched from a celestial beast egg we fortuitously obtained in the secret realm." The elder, being aware of the celestial egg matter, asked no further questions. His face darkened with worry. So I took the opportunity to inquire, only for him to respond with a heavy sigh, "This expedition to the mystic realm has cost our sect many disciples. Casualties during mystic realm trials are perfectly normal. We've lost disciples before, but this time, over 50 life tablets shattered out of the 100 disciples we sent." At first he suspected anomalies in the Cloudvale Sanctuary, yet other sects reported standard casualty rates. How am I supposed to explain this when we return to the sect? I lowered my head in thought for a moment, then turned to the elder leading our group. "Might this disciple examine the shattered life tablets, honored elder?" The elder sighed and produced the life tablets. I carefully examined each one in turn, setting down the final tablet. Understanding dawned within me. The deceased disciples were all those who had been particularly close to Junior Sister. Some were even the very disciples who had clamored for my abdication that day. 6. Including that portly disciple. I never inquired about it afterward, but certain rumors still reached my ears. Led by the portly disciple, a group of disciples completely abandoned their cultivation, spending their days fawning over the Junior Sister in hopes of scavenging some rare spiritual treasures from her. Day by day, their cultivation levels actually skyrocketed at an astonishing rate. This only encouraged their behavior further. But cultivation built upon spiritual treasures alone ultimately lacks true substance. The mystic realm is fraught with peril. Mere reputation without practical mastery proves futile in the face of true danger. Yet so many disciples perished. My thoughts drifted to Soren, whom I'd pierced thrice that day. As I lowered my gaze in contemplation, if this proves true, their crimes would be too numerous to inscribe on all the bamboo slips in the world, before I could verify my theory. The journey back had already begun. The sheer scale of devastation shocked the entire sect, prompting the Grand Master's personal investigation, yet it ultimately came to nothing. The outcome didn't surprise me, but our master summoned us to the main hall nonetheless. When I arrived, my Junior Sister and Soren were already there. The moment I laid eyes on them, I realized something was amiss. Soren, who should have been gravely wounded, stood poised in the grand hall, while my long-lost Junior Sister had her spiritual roots shattered, reduced to a mere mortal. The master pointed his sword at Soren, but my Junior Sister shielded him resolutely. "Master, Soren is innocent." "Innocent? You call this innocence? Your spiritual roots destroyed while he escapes with mere scratches. Lyriel, he's your bonded spirit beast. Danger should be shared between you, not borne by you alone as his shield." "He didn't," the Junior Sister kept arguing stubbornly. Spotting my entrance, she seized upon me like a drowning man clutching at straws, glaring furiously. "Master, it's all Senior Sister's fault. My spiritual root shattered because of her. Everything's her doing." The master looked at me with shocked suspicion. "Sara, explain yourself. What exactly happened here?" With deliberate grace, I bowed and glanced at the disheveled Junior Sister before enunciating clearly, "Honored Master, this disciple fails to see what fault lies in my single-minded cultivation within the secret realm." I nodded, perhaps unable to bear my unscathed state while she'd been reduced to a mere mortal. The Junior Sister's face twisted with hysteria as she shrieked piercingly, "This is your fault. Why didn't you come when I was in danger? You were meant to take the blow for me." Lyriel, a sharp slap rang out, leaving a crimson handprint on the junior disciple's cheek. Clutching her stinging face, she stared at the sect master in disbelief. "Master, you struck me, for that worthless trash." "Lyriel, she's your Senior Sister." "She's not. She's clearly inferior to me in every way. How dare she? How dare she?" She seemed completely deranged, suddenly turning to clutch Soren desperately. Soren. "Tell me, who's better, me or our Senior Sister? Tell me." The Junior Sister's face was now drenched in tears, but combined with her frenzied expression, all traces of her former divine grace had vanished, leaving only something horrifying to behold. 7. Soren shot her a disdainful glance and shoved her away mercilessly. "What are you? How dare you compare yourself to Sora?" Then he dropped to his knees before me, crawling closer in a desperate attempt to embrace me, only for me to sidestep his advance. His eyes brimmed with hurt, yet he dared not touch me again for fear of my displeasure. Sara, look at me, please. I don't care for her, not one bit. Take me away with you, won't you?" Before I could respond, the junior disciple lunged at me to knock me down, only for Soren to instantly intercept and shove her aside. She crashed onto the palace steps, spitting blood as she glared at me with venom. "Sora, Why won't you just let me be? It's all your fault. Why must you steal Soren from me? You just can't stand that he chose me, can you? I almost laughed at the absurdity, giving her a cold glance. Lyriel, no one covets your precious Soren. After all, not everyone treasures trash. With that, I bowed to our master and requested leave. The betrayal from his once beloved disciple must have struck deep. Our master suddenly looked a decade older, as if the weight of heartbreak had aged him overnight. He waved a weary hand at me, eyes heavy with regret. This old master has failed you, Sora, but grant me this one mercy, spare her just this once. If she errs again, do as you see fit, I won't interfere. I held his gaze for what felt like eternity before finally uttering, so be it. Returning to my cavern, I sat in uncharacteristic stillness, for once, cultivation forgotten. Lucius appeared out of nowhere and held me tightly in his arms. Perhaps it was the pent-up emotions that had been suppressed for too long. When someone offered unconditional support without hesitation, I completely broke down in tears. Tears streamed down my face, soaking Lucius' clothes, yet he stayed silent, gently stroking my back in quiet comfort. Buried in his embrace, I choked out, Lucius, why is life so unfair? Some are born showered with love yet remain insatiable. They'd even snatch away the little precious things others have, in my past life. At this very moment, our master summoned both me and my junior sister apprentice. Only that time, the one who got injured was me. My spiritual roots developed cracks back then, forever stunting my cultivation progress. Yet upon returning, I still had to endure our master's scolding. Turns out my junior sister had already tearfully complained to our master upon her return, framing me as the jealous one who coveted that life substitute pearl. I vehemently denied it. That wasn't how things happened at all. My hopeful gaze turned to Soren, begging him to vouch for me, but he only gave me a teary-eyed glance and said, Sora, just admit your mistake, stop making excuses. Our master's disappointed stare bore into me while my junior sister pretended to mediate, only fueling his anger further. The light in my eyes dimmed until all that remained was a hollow whisper. This disciple begs forgiveness, yet now. My master, despite his disappointment, swallowed his pride to beg me to spare our junior sister. Lucius listened calmly, sighed while wiping my tears, then gazed steadily at me. Sora, you're different from her. She's inherently pampered and reliant on others' protection, but you're not. He looked at me with unprecedented solemnity, his noble aura reminiscent of his past life incarnation, and declared, Sora, you're different. You're destined for divinity, becoming a god, is that it? A glimmer slowly lit up in my eyes. Yes, I shall ascend to godhood. Gods bless all living beings, gods nourish all things, but most importantly, divine power alone can truly protect oneself. Relying on others only makes you a vassal. True freedom comes from self-reliance. My long stagnant cultivation suddenly showed signs of breakthrough. I believe I've found my path. I hugged Lucius in delight before mercilessly kicking him out, claiming I needed seclusion for cultivation. Lucius stood bewildered in the wind, barely having held his wife before watching the cave dwelling's gates slam shut. This period of seclusion was unusually long. By the time I emerged, 30 years had already passed. Outside, everything remained unchanged. Willow branches swayed in the breeze, and sunlight filtered through the clouds, spilling across the land. Everything was perfect, except for that melancholy man at the door. Remembering how I'd cast him aside before my retreat, I suddenly felt a pang of guilt. I approached him and offered an apologetic smile. Before I could speak, he grabbed my hand with wounded eyes. Has my lady found another lover and grown tired of this humble servant? A shiver ran down my spine as I jerked my hand away. What the hell are you doing? He examined his own hand, staring at me with wounded eyes, like I'd just betrayed his trust. With a guilty chuckle, I moved closer and took his hand. All right, I didn't mean to. It's just that you startled me. Where'd you learn to do that? He said frankly. Down the mountain at the brothel. Every time those girls put on that act, the customers just eat it up and can't wait to fawn over them. The brothel. For some reason, I suddenly felt rather displeased. Suppressing my emotions, I asked casually, did you visit a brothel? To my surprise, Lucius shot me a furtive glance and muttered, it's all because of you. Because of me? I was utterly baffled. Lucius nodded. Exactly, my wife's been giving me the cold shoulder all day. Naturally, I need to learn how to win her affection. Otherwise, he sighed mournfully, otherwise, what if she finds another lover out there? Never before had I wanted to strangle my big-mouthed self so badly, but before I could speak, a transmitted voice came to my rescue. He was a junior disciple I used to get along quite well with. Senior sister. Senior sister, surely you haven't forgotten the grand sect celebration. Come to the training grounds at once. We're completely overwhelmed. The Grand Sect celebration is held once every century to commemorate the founding of our sect. This year marks exactly 5 millennia since the sect's establishment. No wonder everything's exceptionally hectic. Seizing the opportunity, I hastily escaped that awkward atmosphere. only to find my junior sister with Soren the moment I arrived at the training grounds. After this long absence, my junior sister had regained her former glamorous appearance, but those with discerning eyes could tell her current possessions were worlds apart from what she once had. Ever since returning from the secret realm with her spiritual roots completely shattered, her innate dual cultivation physique became her only remaining asset, yet from the moment Soren took human form, she succumbed to temptation and entered dual cultivation with him. She only saw the temporary surge in cultivation, blind to the gradual depletion of her innate spiritual essence as a dual cultivation vessel. White foxes embody lust, but the nine-tailed ones surpass all in depravity. Their forbidden cultivation path forces them to practice with spiritually gifted humans, masking their demonic nature to survive heaven's wrath, yet this comes at a price. Their partner's spiritual gifts inevitably wither until extinguished. By then, cultivators would find their progress completely stagnated, and the benefits of dual cultivation would vanish entirely. Prolonged dual cultivation with Soren had drained the junior sister's spiritual essence, leaving the advantages of her special constitution nearly depleted. Her so-called dear brothers likely recognized this too, hence abandoning their useless plaything without hesitation. But the love-struck junior sister remained blind to the truth, mistaking their calculated abandonment for mere fickleness, while still desperately chasing after Soren. But it was doomed from the start. Soren rushed toward me eagerly, stopping just an arm's length away, restrained by my obvious dislike, and beamed at me. "Sora, you're out of seclusion. Did you know that What concern are you of mine?" I cut him off without meeting his gaze, focusing instead on the junior disciple trailing behind him. From a distance, I couldn't see clearly, but now up close I noticed, junior sister actually carries demonic aura. This demonic energy is invisible even to ordinary cultivators and demonic beings, but as a phoenix, an ancient divine beast, with flames of ultimate purity, Lucius' influence allows me to perceive demonic energies hidden from ordinary sight. The demonic presence is so intense, I narrowed my eyes as a certain place came to mind. Contrary to my expectation of hysteria, my junior sister watched me with composed confidence, as if holding all the cards. With a glance at her, I ignored Soren's incessant chatter and took flight from the spot. My junior brother waited as I prepared the ingredients. Taking the knife, I mentally relayed my recent discovery to Lucius through arcane means. After ending the call, I stared thoughtfully at the clean fish in my hand. If my guess is right, with a chuckle, I tossed the fish into a nearby basin. This grand performance will begin with junior sister's opening act. The preparations for the grand sect celebration weren't completed until late afternoon. As evening fell, disciples and elders arrived in succession, marking the official commencement of the sect's grand celebration. After delivering his customary address, the sect master permitted the disciples to mingle freely. Just as I was enjoying the fish Lucius had deboned for me, my junior martial sister suddenly appeared before me with 2 cups of wine. She handed me a glass of wine while subtly revealing the red marks on her skin, putting on a pitiful act. "Senior sister," she whimpered, "I was wrong about you before. Soren truly isn't a good man. I'm so sorry. Could you possibly forgive me?" Watching her clumsy performance, I exchanged a glance with Lucius before reaching for the wine glass. In the blink of an eye, a surge of spiritual energy struck the glass from her hand, spilling the wine onto the ground where it released a sinister demonic aura. I gave the shattered glass a regretful lip before turning to the newcomer. "It's Soren." Gone was his usual daytime elegance. His face was drenched in sweat, his white shirt stained crimson with blood. Clutching his chest, he gasped weakly, "That wine, it's tainted with dark magic." The earlier commotion had drawn a crowd, and Soren's revelation sent waves of panic through the onlookers, yet most disciples remained skeptical. After all, demonic energy had vanished for tens of thousands of years. How could it suddenly appear in wine? Before they could react, their junior sister erupted into maniacal laughter. Her hair ribbon snapped from the rampaging demonic energy, robes fluttering wildly as her eyes burned a piercing crimson. A crimson mark appeared between her brows, the telltale sign of demonic corruption. The nearby disciples stood petrified in silence, while someone already ran to summon the elders. I forcibly recalled Lucius into the spirit beast egg, appearing wholly unsurprised. My junior martial sister smirked at me with unsettling amusement. "Sora, why aren't you shocked? Why aren't you terrified? How can you remain so utterly calm?" I regarded her coolly, my voice devoid of emotion. "This doesn't surprise me in the least. After all, you did the same in our past life, didn't you?" She paused briefly, forcing a smile more bitter than tears. After all, not a single soul in our previous lives ever suspected she'd fallen to demonic ways, not even me. Back then, it wasn't until I saw her this afternoon that everything clicked. Of course, with the demon abyss being so perilous, why would our life-loving junior sister risk her own neck just to harm me? There's only one explanation: she's fallen to demonic corruption. That's why she had no choice but to enter the abyss, to drain my vital essence, To stake my very life on her slim chance of regaining immortality, I underestimated my former junior sister, so it was all her elaborate scheme. Even Soren was kept in the dark by her. In her past life, she fell into darkness due to insatiable greed, but this time, it was truly for love. For Soren, how the mighty have fallen, but I don't feel an ounce of pity for her. Pity often masks contemptible traits. Had she known contentment and gratitude, this wouldn't have been her fate. My junior sister glared at me, her once elegant features now twisted with malice. Sora, she spat, why must you always take what's mine, my status in our past life? Soren's heart now, how dare you, why does everything good always fall into your hands? Lyriel, still don't understand, this is all because you're never satisfied. Satisfied, she gave a mirthless smirk as dark energy coalesced around her. I'm the chosen one. Why should I ever be content? I summoned spiritual energy to block the attack, and the phoenix flames within it ignited upon contact with demonic energy, illuminating Lyriel's face. Phoenix flames, Lyriel chuckled. See, Sora, all the good stuff belongs to you. I'd had enough of arguing with her. Reason would never get through to that woman. Time to settle this with force. I pricked my fingertip, letting blood drip onto the blade. In an instant, golden light erupted as a dragon soared across the heavens. Phoenix flames coalesced with spiritual energy, answering the dragon's roar with avian cries. The intertwined mythical beast surged forward with my sword thrust, piercing the obsidian barrier. As darkness clashed with radiance, fissures spiderwebbed across the barrier. Lyriel tried summoning her demonic energy, only to find her reserves completely drained. She glared at me in shock and fury. Sora, what have you done? I smiled at her. Lyriel, did you truly believe dual cultivation with the white fox would bring you any good? Your vitality was drained long ago, now you're just a spent force. Lyriel, with a furious roar, I unleashed my full power. You've lost. A blinding golden light erupted as spiritual energy condensed into thick mist, obscuring our vision of each other. Through the haze, Lyriel coughed up blood, staring at me with bitter resentment. Sora, so you knew all along. I met her gaze. Little sister, the greater the reward appears, the heavier the price it demands. 09, she laughed, a wild, arrogant laugh. Oh really, but Sora, you miscalculated. I've got one last trick. With those words, she mustered all her spiritual energy, piercing through the thick fog as she lunged at me. She clutched something in her hand, its sinister demonic aura swirling relentlessly. My pupils contracted. A demon seed, the source of all corruption, once corrupted by it. The only outcome is demonic transformation. Lucius was bouncing around frantically inside the spirit beast egg where I'd sealed him. I stroked my storage ring reassuringly before summoning phoenix flames to form a protective barrier, but before the demon seed could touch the phoenix fire, it struck the figure who'd suddenly appeared. Soren stepped in front of me, his eyes brimming with hope as he said, Sora, this time I've protected you. Before I could speak, Lyriel burst into laughter. Soren. Tears streamed down her face as she glared at Soren with bitter resentment. Why, just tell me why. You wanted dual cultivation, and I gave you everything. When you were mortally wounded in the secret realm, it was me. I slaughtered nearly 50 sect members as sacrificial offerings to heal you. After my spiritual roots shattered and I lost everything, you were the only one I never stopped protecting. Soren, why? No reason. Dark energy coiled around Soren, turning his jet-black hair snow-white while completely healing all his previous wounds. He slowly approached Lyriel, thrusting his hand through her body. As she gasped her last breath, he coldly produced a life-sustaining pearl to prolong her agony before emotionlessly impaling her again. My very existence is owed to her. In my past life, I was blinded by obsessions striving for power just to reach her, only to become her murderer with my own hands. I deserve this atonement. No sooner had he spoken than he hoisted the barely conscious Lyriel and knelt before me. Sora, he vowed, I'll take her to the abyss of 10,000 demons and spend my lifetime atoning. I studied him for a long moment before turning away with detached calm. So be it. Thus the matter reached its conclusion. When our master learned of it, he remained silent. Only the deepening lines on his face betrayed how this had aged him. The sect's true culprit behind nearly 50 disciples' deaths received due punishment, yet no retribution could bring those lost souls back. The sect leader specially invited monks from the great Buddha temple to perform last rites, praying they'd find peace in their next life. Everything was gradually falling into place, except me, currently trying to calm Lucius down. That night after I released Lucius, he immediately demanded I break our spirit beast contract, bound by the spirit beast contract. He couldn't defy my will, only to be forcibly recalled into his egg during danger, leaving me frantic with worry. Since nothing major seemed imminent, I humored his request. The moment the contract lifted, he clung to me desperately, motionless and silent. Just hold me like this and stay. After struggling fruitlessly several times, I gave up and hugged him back. Then unexpectedly, I felt sudden wetness against my neck. I froze. Sora, Lucius choked out, you scared me half to death, you know that. I'm literally the best at resisting demonic energy, and you know it. Watching you nearly get corrupted by the demon sea from inside the egg, I was terrified. I was so afraid you'd leave me, afraid you'd abandon me. Sora, could you let me face this crisis with you? The proud little phoenix was crying his heart out. I wiped his tears and looked him straight in the eyes. Lucius, I promise, never again. The moment I finished speaking, I wrapped my arms around his neck and pressed a gentle kiss to his lips. Will you be my husband and stay by my side forever? Lucius stiffened for a heartbeat before pulling me tighter, turning the tables with possessive intensity. My body melted like liquid against him, only his embrace keeping me from collapsing to the ground. Lucius held me close, gazing into my eyes with solemn devotion. I do. Soren's side story, after death. The Phoenix realm carried me into a place both foreign and familiar. There was no day or night, no vast horizons, just one person and a solitary mountain. 10. I recognized that person, the one who first created me. Since birth, I've carried the memories of all nine-tailed white foxes spanning millions of years. I know I was created by one person, my God, my everything, yet she cannot see me. She's created far too many things, majestic mountains and rivers, divine dragons and phoenixes. Yet I'm just an ordinary little fox, my only distinction being these 9 tails. I once dreamed of climbing that mountain to meet her, but creatures along the way stopped me. They mocked my audacity, saying only beings like celestial dragons and Chelan deserved to stand with a goddess, but I was too weak, so I became obsessed. I must grow stronger. Through countless cycles of rebirth, I've forgotten her face and voice, only this remains. I must grow stronger, draw closer to her, and be with her. When I met Sora, all I wanted was to use her for dual cultivation, because that was the fastest path to power, but she refused, instead teaching me swordplay, meditation techniques, gradual cultivation methods, and urging me to abandon dual cultivation. I mocked her foolishness and resented her lack of passion, which led me to set a different goal, Lyriel, so I hurt Sora again and again for Lyriel's sake, even draining her lifeblood completely, until after my death, in that void. I beheld the face of divinity once more, indistinguishable from Sora. Suddenly I understood why the sword gleam that appeared on her when we fell into the tiger's maw felt so familiar, for it was a gift from the gods. Sora, she's practically a goddess, but I realized it far too late. Thankfully, when I opened my eyes again, I was back in that familiar egg. But why did she leave me? I fought against it. I resented it. I just don't understand why she'd walk away. Things were never like this in our past life. It was by her side that I first noticed another presence. Later I learned he was the phoenix who'd stood by the goddess since creation's dawn. I burned with envy, endlessly wondering, why him? Why couldn't it have been me? Until that day the goddess wept, when the phoenix whispered, "You're different from her, you're destined to ascend." I understand, I'm different from him too. At least he always knew what God wanted, at least he never harmed God, even without memories. Story 2, the high-temperature apocalypse is coming, but my sister is determined to be the soft female lead in a doomsday overlord story. She gasped repeatedly, "It's so hot outside, the doomsday overlord's forced love is just too enjoyable, isn't it?" I earnestly advised her, in the apocalypse, people's hearts are unpredictable, relying on beauty to serve others won't last long. It's better to face the difficulties early and work hard to awaken your own abilities. Moreover, that overlord has long had someone special in his heart. After my repeated persuasion, my sister finally decided to face the apocalypse crisis with me. After some time of effort, she awakened her water-based abilities and became a strong survivor in the apocalypse, unexpectedly. That doomsday overlord became stronger and stronger, teaming up with his good brother to become a dominant base lord. Later, I heard that shortly after my sister left, that overlord found a proud beauty, and the two brothers pampered her like a precious jewel, enjoying all the glory, and that proud beauty resembled her by about 80%. My sister hated me to the bone because of this, and during an outing to search for supplies, she pushed me off a tall building. Before I died, she had a fierce expression on her face. "If it weren't for you, I would have been the little princess of the apocalypse. Why would I have to suffer so much? It's all your fault." I didn't expect that when I opened my eyes again, I had actually returned to the beginning of the high-temperature apocalypse. 1. Miss Nora, have you made up your mind? Do you want to come with me? A deep voice sounded. I suddenly jolted and looked at the man sitting across from me, Archer, the only son of the richest man in City A. The pain of my broken spine is still vivid, and at this moment, I also clearly realize that I have been reborn. I was reborn at the beginning of the high-temperature apocalypse. When my sister Celeste was noticed by Archer, it was clearly autumn, but the temperature was rising steadily. The outdoor temperature during the day has risen from an initial 40 degrees to 45 degrees, 50 degrees, until now. It is nearly 60 degrees, with no signs of a decrease in temperature. Under these circumstances, humans can no longer engage in outdoor activities for long periods. Schools have stopped classes. Factories have halted production, many public facilities are out of service, and the vast majority of people are working and studying from home. At first, everyone cheered for the rare holiday, but when widespread high-intensity electricity usage led to intermittent power outages in most areas, people began to panic, people rushed to grab supplies, driving up prices, and everyone felt insecure, taking advantage of the fact that the city had not yet completely descended into chaos. I drove out of the city overnight with supplies, planning to take my sister Celeste back to the countryside to escape the heat. At the gas station, I encountered Archer, who was also leaving the city to escape the heat. Celeste's eyes were filled with anticipation, yet she pretended to be reserved. "Sister, are we going to leave with Archer, too?" In my previous life, I saw her intentions and quickly pulled her aside to analyze the pros and cons. Archer is not related to us. His willingness to take you away at this moment is merely because he is attracted to your looks. In the apocalypse, people's hearts are unpredictable. Relying on looks to serve others won't last long. It's better to face the difficulties early and strive to awaken your own abilities. I am a fan of apocalyptic novels and follow many various forums and groups. Coincidentally, I saw a video in a group where a certain big shot awakened his abilities. Although the video was almost immediately retracted, I still saw the scene of him waving his hand to create ice. That person said he accidentally consumed a plant with ice crystals and provided a relatively detailed description. To persuade Celeste not to act impulsively, I revealed all the information I knew, but she didn't listen at all. She was even a bit excited. "Sister, have you read the Doomsday Posts? Archer is a wealthy and powerful big shot, good-looking and well-built, with maximum sexual tension, while I have a narrow waist and a round bottom, cute and plump, a perfect real-life Doomsday Post heroine. It's so hot outside, the Doomsday Boss's forced love is just too enjoyable." Okay, I was almost speechless and could only pour a bucket of cold water over her. As everyone knows, Archer has a white moonlight, an escaped fiancé. The news of Archer chasing his wife at the airport in a luxury car caused quite a stir at the time. After much thought, she ultimately decided to give up traveling with Archer. On the way to the suburbs to escape the heat, I not only took care of Celeste's food, clothing, housing, and emotions, but even brought her the first ice crystal grass I found to stimulate her abilities. By constantly accumulating energy, she became a strong survivor in the post-apocalyptic world. Unexpectedly, Archer became stronger and stronger, not only becoming a local boss in the post-apocalyptic world, but also finding a beautiful woman who looked like her, treating her like a precious jewel, enjoying endless wealth and luxury. Celeste blamed me for all the mistakes and cruelly pushed me off the building. Thinking about this, I smiled. "You are an individual with your own thoughts, and I respect all your decisions." Seeing that I gave in, Celeste pulled me aside and, pretending to be a bit embarrassed, whispered quietly, "But I only met him 5 minutes ago." I gave her an encouraging look. The relationship with every person starts from nothing. If you think he is reliable, seize this opportunity. For someone like Archer, you might not get another chance like this. She just needed someone to support her, not to seek advice. Celeste ran happily towards Archer, shyly looking at him. "Archer, I am willing to travel with you in this lifetime. If Celeste wants to throw herself into someone's arms, I certainly won't stop her. After all, I also want to know what will happen to that proud beauty when she is found." After agreeing to travel with Archer, Celeste arrogantly commanded her bodyguards to come and carry her luggage. When she left home, she brought an oversized suitcase and 2 large bags, all filled with her clothes, bags, shoes, and cosmetics. I advised her not to bring so much and to leave space for food and daily necessities, but she didn't listen and we ended up having a big fight over it. Of course, it ended with me compromising. By the time her luggage was moved, the trunk of the car was already more than half empty. Celeste was not in a hurry to leave. She leaned against the car door, lazily watching me fill the gas tank. "Sister, there's no need for women to be so strong-willed. Why suffer like this? Archer's team is still missing a cook. If you say a few good words to him, I'll help by saying a few nice things too. He might be willing to take you along." Archer, TSK. "In just a little while. You've already gotten so familiar. After being your free nanny for so many years, even if I owe you a life from the last life, it should be repaid. Don't take yourself too seriously. If you want me to be a free nanny, no way. In this life, without the constraints of so-called family ties, I won't hold back." Celeste probably didn't expect me to refuse, and to speak so harshly. She was stunned for several seconds before coming to her senses. If you don't want to go, then don't. They don't care about you. There are plenty of people willing to come. She stomped her foot angrily and shouted at the bodyguard next to her, "Move these few boxes of water, self-heating hot pot, and rice to Archer's RV. Don't forget there's a small freezer in the back seat, which has a lot of ice water and marinated food. Just right for eating on the road. Those compressed biscuits can be discarded. They are hard and taste terrible." She can indeed do mental arithmetic. Currently, the temperature keeps rising, and prices are changing daily. When the outdoor temperature reaches 60 or 70 degrees, even with money, you won't be able to buy anything. Water and non-perishable food will be treasures that everyone fights over. When the average daytime temperature rises to over 50 degrees, I was at the supermarket fighting with a group of crazy aunties for drinking water. Almost getting trampled to death. Celeste didn't help at all. Instead, she happily filmed a video of me carrying water and posted it on social media, saying I was being overly worried. Because of her social media post, I don't know how many people from my past life were drawn to me. Those neighbors frequently came to borrow water, and later even smashed my door. If I hadn't left the city early, how could the two of us girls protect ourselves? The water and stored food that I risked my life to keep. Does she deserve to eat? Quickly pressing the car key, I locked the trunk. In broad daylight. Are you planning to rob me? Celeste angrily slapped the trunk. Why can't I move things? It was agreed that these supplies belonged to both of us. Mom asked you to take good care of me before she passed away. Do you want her to die with regrets? Again, at times like this, she brings up her deceased mother without reason. I looked at her with mockery and had no intention of backing down an inch. Don't think you can use that biased mom to manipulate me. You didn't spend a dime or lift a finger for these food and water. Whether I give them to you or not is entirely up to me. Since childhood, my mother always made me yield to her, and even before her death, she couldn't let go of her worries about me, and I am only 2 years older than her. When my mother passed away, I had just started college, while studying and working part-time. I was afraid that my father would treat her poorly if he remarried, so I sent her living expenses on time every month. After graduating, we both worked in the same city, and I took on almost all the living expenses and household chores. Just because of a few words from my mother before she died, I selflessly gave, and in the end, I only ended up with a tragic fate. Why should I? Ignoring her wailing, I quickly sat in the driver's seat and locked the car door. Just as I was about to close the car window, a strong hand reached in through the window and grabbed my wrist. Archer looked down at me from above, with the indifference typical of someone in a position of power. "Nora, right, for Celeste's sake, you can come with us, I allow it." Seeing Archer, Celeste immediately leaned in like a wilting flower, looking wronged as she began to complain. "Archer, my sister doesn't want to join the team. She says she doesn't want to be your free babysitter. We originally agreed to split the supplies in the car, but now she doesn't want to give me my share." The more she spoke, the more wronged she seemed, tears starting to fall. "Actually, I can give the food to my sister. I just really want you to try the many local specialties in the small fridge." Archer frowned tightly, gripping my wrist hard, his tone already somewhat impatient. "Woman, I advise you not to challenge my patience." I raised my eyes and stared at Archer. In the moment he was distracted, my other hand reached for the central control panel and pulled out a stainless steel fruit fork. Without any hesitation, I ruthlessly stabbed it into his arm. You crazy person." With that stab, I used all my strength, blood dripping down Archer's arm. He let out a scream, released my hand, and instinctively withdrew from the window. No sooner said than done. I quickly started the vehicle and stepped on the gas, after driving a few dozen meters away. Suppressing my racing heart, I dared to look back through the rearview mirror. I saw Archer standing in place with his arm raised, while a bodyguard was bandaging him with gauze, and Celeste was standing beside him, nervously handing over tools. Not bothering to observe them any longer, I quickly drove away. With so many bodyguards around Archer, if they caught up, given my current abilities, I might not be able to escape unscathed. Watching the shadow of the person behind the car grow farther away, it seemed to carve a rift with all the past. From now on, I will live for myself. I saw Celeste again half a month later, the unfinished villa area in the outskirts of County A. "Sister, I didn't expect to meet you here." Celeste seemed to have forgotten the previous unpleasantness and greeted me with a smile. Her upper body was almost entirely pressed against Archer's arm, her hips slightly raised, striking a strange pose. The daytime temperature has already reached over 60 degrees, and even standing in the pavilion in the villa yard, the heat waves in the air still hit me, burning my face. I did not go directly to the self-built house in the countryside as planned, but instead came to the place where I discovered the ice crystal grass in my previous life. 3. Without her burden, I arrived here 3 days earlier than in my previous life. Successfully discovering that special plant with white ice crystals among a bunch of withered grass, this route is neither a necessary path to my parents' self-built house in the countryside nor does it lead to Archer's countryside villa. Logically, we shouldn't meet, it's too strange. Before I could think carefully, Celeste spoke up as if interrogating a prisoner. Sister, when did you arrive? Did you see any special plants? For example, plants covered in ice crystals? I was taken aback. So far, the network communication had not been interrupted, and many people knew that absorbing mutated plants could grant special abilities, but her expression was as if she was certain there were mutated plants here. Could it be that she has also been reborn? I pretended to be confused and replied, "Oh, are you talking about those small grasses with fleshy leaves covered in ice crystals?" Celeste didn't wait for me to finish speaking. A smile blossomed on her face as she turned to take credit. "Archer, I told you, she must have saved the mutated grass for me." Archer's previously furrowed brows gradually relaxed as he reached out and pinched her waist. "Little fairy, you must let me spoil you tonight. You are so bad." Accompanied by Celeste's faint proud hum, Archer pulled her into his arms and kissed her forcefully. Soon, the two were kissing passionately and unwilling to part. The scene was simply too eye-watering. I cleared my throat, awkwardly interrupting their good moment. "Give it to me." With the moment interrupted, Celeste shot me an annoyed glare and extended her hand in front of me. "What?" I pretended to be clueless. "Mutant grass." Celeste raised her voice. "You always said relying on others is worse than relying on yourself, right? I've figured it out. I want to unlock my powers. Give me the mutant grass." She acted as if it were a given, as if agreeing to unlock her powers was a favor to me. Just like the previous life, exactly the same. Before, I didn't see her hypocrisy. Every time I gave her mutant grass, it seemed like I was forcing her, like she was only unlocking her powers because I asked her to. In fact, she wasn't unwilling to become stronger, she just didn't want to work hard, hoping for a free gift from the sky, wanting to get something for nothing. "You want mutant grass, right?" I teased her, slowly saying the second half of my sentence in front of her expectant eyes. "Sorry, I already ate it 3 days ago." Celeste wasn't moved at all. "You didn't save any for me." "I don't believe it. Show it to me right now." She really thought she was something. I tossed a crystal of ice, which whizzed past her face, leaving a trail of blood. "Do you believe it?" I smiled brightly. With the experience of the previous life, before coming to the villa area, I had already obtained a crystal grass. Now I not only can adapt to the scorching temperature outside, but I can also easily condense ice crystals and launch attacks. Archer's bodyguards rushed over, for strong men nearly 9 meters tall, intending to surround me. They are just a few people without activated abilities. I don't take them seriously. Just as I was about to make a move again, Archer quickly reached out to stop me. "It's a small matter, you all leave first." He really knows how to assess the situation, realizing he is not my opponent. So he pulled Celeste and followed the bodyguards out. As they reached the edge of the pavilion, his displeased voice came over. "Wasn't it said that the mutated grass was almost guaranteed? Now wasting time coming to this broken place." Archer wanted to say something else, but Celeste tiptoed and kissed him on the lips, then whispered something in his ear. They exchanged a smile and embraced each other, continuing to nibble on each other. As she was leaving, she turned back and gave me a smug smile. Celeste and Archer settled in the basement of the villa across the street. After they insulated the villa with sunshades and awnings, there was no further movement. I also did not leave. I just became more cautious in my daily routine. The car is parked in the villa's underground garage, and I almost live and eat around the vehicle, definitely not going far. Previously, when passing through the town, I stocked up on several large barrels of gasoline and bought a lot of food, filling the space left by Celeste's moved luggage to the brim. With ice crystals and an insulated box to cool down, I can still enjoy fresh meat and fruits, making life quite comfortable. According to the timeline, a heavy rain will come in 2 days, and by then, another ice crystal grass will grow on the roof of the villa where I live. After harvesting this grass, I will leave without delay. As for Celeste, I will certainly make her suffer a bit. The night before the heavy rain, a rare wind blew through the dead air, and the temperature dropped significantly, feeling only over 50 degrees. Taking this opportunity, Celeste pulled Archer to appear in front of me once again, showing off their affection. "Sister, you must be so lonely by yourself." She looked at me with a sympathetic gaze and chattered on. "Bodyguard Jude graduated from a sports university, and he looks decent. Although he isn't as outstanding as Archer, he is still more than enough for you in the apocalypse. It's not safe for a girl like you. If you follow Jude, and if he also awakens his powers, your safety will be even more assured. Don't be ungrateful." At that moment, I was eating ice cream, watching her lips move, feeling inexplicably irritated, frowning. The ice crystal in my hand had already formed. Celeste was so scared that she shivered and directly hid behind Archer. "Sister, what are you doing?" "I was just trying to help you. Are you going to make a move again?" She instinctively covered her face. I was already out of patience to play the sister-sister act with her, so I directly shot out an ice crystal, hitting her knee. Celeste cried out in pain, kneeling on one knee on the ground, screaming, "Archer, tell Jude to shoot her dead." Anger flared in Archer's eyes as he held Celeste in his arms and waved to Jude outside the villa. At that moment, an off-road vehicle stopped outside the villa. I looked up and saw a charming figure jump down from the car. "Brother Archer, long time no see." That face looked 80% like Celeste. Oh no. The proud beauty that Archer pampered in the last life has arrived. "Nix, why are you back?" Archer was stunned for a moment, and then his eyes visibly lit up with surprise. "What, are you not happy that I'm back?" Nix smiled brightly, and when she turned to Celeste, she curled her lips in displeasure. "Who is this? She does look a bit like me. How could I not be happy?" Archer relaxed his hand and ruthlessly pushed Celeste aside. Nix happily opened her arms to him, and the two shared a heartfelt hug. Celeste was so angry that her face turned red. She caught a glimpse of me sitting aside watching the drama and said to me in a huff, "Since some people have found new loves, why don't I just go with you?" After saying that, Celeste glanced at Archer with the corner of her eye, waiting for him to notice her displeasure. The other party was currently immersed in the joy of reunion and had no time to pay attention to her. Celeste could no longer control her emotions and rushed up to slap Nix across the face. "Vixen, don't think that just because you look a bit like me, you can mess around with Archer, but he has a girlfriend." Nix was stunned by a slap from her. Her eyes immediately turned red, and big tears fell down as she looked at Archer with grievance. It perfectly showcased the pure and innocent image of the little white lotus. "Celeste, are you crazy?" Archer was pained by the tears of the white moonlight, raising his hand towards Celeste, and it looked like he was about to bring it down. "If you dare to hit me, don't forget my sister has ice powers. If you touch me, I'll have her kill this vixen." Celeste stubbornly raised her face, her eyes filled with defiance. Archer glanced in my direction, ultimately putting his hand down, not knowing what he was plotting in his mind. "Leave my territory. I have no interest in your melodramatic relationship." I waved my hand impatiently, and an ice crystal flew past Nix's cheek. "Good, good, good. Let's go now." Archer's attitude was surprisingly good, greeting the two women and heading outside. Celeste's eyes showed a hint of confusion as she reluctantly followed Archer out the door. Early the next morning, Celeste knocked on my car door. "Sister, please, help me." She covered her cheek with one hand, looking at me with red eyes. I lowered the car window a crack, leisurely waiting for her to speak. She seemed a bit embarrassed, and after seeing that I didn't urge her to leave, she angrily began to complain. "That little bitch Nix. Just because she knows Archer a few days longer than I do, she actually dared to hit me." 5. Celeste's face was clearly marked with a handprint, red and swollen. "So what?" I took a sip of water, waiting for her to continue. Celeste had made up her mind, and spoke slowly. "To be honest, a few days ago I had a dream of many incredible things. In that dream, this place would soon have a heavy rain, and after the rain, the temperature would rise sharply. Sister would pick a mutated grass covered in white fur for me, and I would be able to activate my ability. Sister, you already have an ice-type ability. Please help me." She pressed her hands against my car window, pleading desperately. "Before, I was not mature. If I could be as strong as you, Archer would treat me with the same respect as he does you. Then I would really make him look bad." I just looked at her calmly. From her expression, the dream she described was probably not the same as what she actually experienced. It was just a refined version to ask for the mutated grass again. Celeste must have reincarnated. I didn't expect that. Even after another chance, her mind was still only on men. "It was your own fault for not being mature before. I have no reason to cover for you for the rest of your life. Everything you encounter today is a result of your past choices. The path you chose must be walked by you alone." Seeing that I was unmoved, her gaze suddenly became fierce. "If at that time you had told me that we would definitely find the mutated grass, would I have followed Archer? Now that you have the ability, how can you completely disregard my life and death? Is that fair to our mother's spirit in heaven?" Looking at her fierce expression, I felt inexplicably confused. In the unpredictable end times, who can ensure that we will definitely find the mutated grass? Don't mention Mom again. I advise you to leave early and don't force me to take action. 6. Celeste met my cold gaze and ultimately turned back reluctantly. Through the car window, I could still hear her sobbing loudly. At that moment, large raindrops began to fall from the sky, and soon the outside was a white blur. "It seems that it won't be long before I can go look for new mutated grass." By the time the rain stopped, it was already noon. The scorching sun was high in the sky, and the temperature in the air was rapidly rising. The morning rain evaporated quickly in a short time. I looked around and, after not seeing anyone else, quickly got up and went towards the villa's upper floor. According to memories from my previous life, I found the mutated grass that was covered with white frosty hair in the corner on the roof. In my previous life, I found that the villa had a well, and the automatic water pump on the roof would pump the well water to the water tower. I was just trying my luck to see if I could find any water resources in the tower. Unexpectedly, I had an unexpected gain. At that time, both I and Celeste had already taken a mutated grass, and the scorching temperature could no longer affect us two, and my silly good sister gave this rare mutated grass back to her. I didn't expect that after taking the mutated grass, it actually awakened her spatial abilities, laying a solid foundation for accumulating resources in the future. The mutated grass grew rapidly in front of me, soon reaching the size of a palm. I carefully pulled it out by the roots. The mutated grass in my palm emitted a strong vitality, a feeling like the hope of all things reviving in spring. Just as I was about to put it in my mouth, the leaves of the mutated grass quickly curled together, looking like a withered plant in autumn. Just as I was surprised, I heard Celeste shout loudly, "No, this mutated grass, it is mine." An even more miraculous scene occurred. Suddenly, several lines of bullet comments floated across my eyes. What is Nora trying to do? She has already eaten 2 mutant plants, and she won't even give one to her sister. The space inside the mutant plant is the foundation for the protagonist's accumulation of supplies. The opportunity was originally Celeste's. Haven't you noticed that plant is already withered? I looked at the live comments drifting by in confusion. I suddenly realized that the time and space I'm living in is just a novel being watched by others. Those who sent the live comments can know the future development of the plot, but they don't know that because I have reincarnated, the plot has become very different from the previous life. If this mutant plant is destined to be Celeste's opportunity, then if I can't get it, no one else can either. I took out a windproof lighter from my pocket, clicked it on, and slowly approached the mutant plant with the flame. The live comments started scrolling again. Nora must be crazy. Does she know what she is about to burn is the foundation of the world's plot development? I pretend not to see what they are saying, and bring the lighter's flame closer to the mutated grass. At that moment, something miraculous happened. The mutated grass, which had already completely withered, suddenly turned from yellow to green as if it had received rain and dew. At the exact moment the lighter's flame approached the leaf, the whole plant returned to its original state, a lush green thick leaf, covered with crystalline frost, just like the one I gave to Celeste back then. I smiled slightly and quickly put it in my mouth. It was like a full cotton candy, and once in my mouth, it quickly melted into a sweet, clear liquid like sugarcane juice. Soon, a space as large as a football field appeared in my mind, and according to my consciousness, I could freely wander around in that space. With this treasure, all I need to do next is stockpile supplies. Celeste stared wide-eyed in disbelief. How could this happen? The space clearly belongs to me. At that moment, Archer also rushed to the rooftop. He looked at the crying Celeste and probably understood the situation. "Didn't you say that these were all your opportunities?" he shouted angrily and pushed her away. "I don't know why this is happening." Celeste was pushed and fell directly onto the rooftop. Big tears started to fall down her face. I stood across from her, looking at her with a smile. 7. The temperature on the rooftop was so high, but fortunately, it had just rained. Otherwise, just that fall could have caused burns. It seems that in this life, Celeste chose her long-desired Archer but did not receive the love she expected. Brother Archer, Lucian has built a doomsday base in the south. Let's go there. We'll have anything we need, then we can get the mutated grass by trading supplies. We'll definitely get it. Besides, I have a small space. We'll have enough. You're not here with me. I don't feel safe. Nyx arrived on the rooftop without anyone noticing, holding an umbrella, standing in the shade of the stairs, and coquettishly flirting with Archer. She was holding an ice pack, constantly fanning herself with a fan. These things must have come from the space. Archer looked at her gently. "Didn't I tell you to stay in the car? It's so hot outside. What if you get heat stroke?" "Archer, didn't you say she betrayed you, and you've already forgotten her?" Celeste, watching the two of them flirting, shouted angrily. She slowly got up and quickly moved her body to the shade to cool off. "Betrayal? It's just a game of chase between us as a couple," Nyx sneered, her eyes full of mockery. "Don't you look at your face, isn't it just my low-end version?" Archer stood by, reaching out to wrap his arm around Nyx's shoulder. "Nyx, let's go." After saying that, he turned back to look at Celeste. "You don't have to follow me anymore, just follow your sister." "Don't say that. The male lead is quite heartless." It was Archer who said he would take care of Celeste, but when the white moonlight returned, he turned his back on her. In the apocalypse, who still reads sweet pet novels, it's all about the survival of the fittest. Barges rolled in front of me. Everyone was fiercely discussing Celeste's fate, but it seemed like no one could change anything. Celeste turned her gaze towards me, her crimson eyes revealing the last trace of hope. I merely curled my lips indifferently, smiling and shaking my head. I still understand the principle of raising a tiger to invite trouble. In that instant, Celeste resolutely turned her head and rushed towards the two people in front of her. By the time I walked over, Archer and Nix were already lying on the floor of the villa's first floor. Nix had already passed out, while Archer was clutching his right leg with a twisted expression. The villa has 2.5 stories, and since it is unfinished, there are no railings. The two of them were probably caught off guard by Celeste. Archer's bodyguard had already run in from outside and quickly returned to his side. "Celeste, I have treated you well. Why do you want to put me to death?" He angrily pointed upstairs. The bodyguard beside him immediately understood and rushed upstairs. "You have treated me well." Celeste laughed out loud. "I am just a substitute for your white moonlight. As soon as Nix returns, I become nothing. You know very well that my sister doesn't want me anymore, yet you leave me here. Isn't it just to let me wait to die? The temperature is so high, and you're injured. Your wound might get infected. I won't make it, and you won't either." She laughed out loud. At this moment, the security guard had already rushed to her side. I quickly threw out 2 ice crystals. The ice crystals directly pierced through the bodyguard's knees, and both of them cried out in pain, rolling down from the building. "Sister, you must have also been reborn, right?" I stood behind her, speaking lazily. "You?" Celeste's eyes quickly flashed with surprise, then she nodded in understanding and smiled. "Surely, last time, the man you wholeheartedly wanted to be with. This time, you've finally gotten him." I looked at Archer, who was now in a mess and confused below, and only felt amused. "For decades, sisters, you're not as important as a man who once gave you an empty promise." Celeste suddenly started crying, 2 hot tears rolling down her cheeks. "Sister, I really was wrong. Please forgive me. You still want to help me, which means you still have sisterly feelings for me, right?" I gently shook my head. "Helping you deal with those 2 bodyguards is just to let you know that in this society where people eat each other, relying on others is not as good as relying on yourself, sister." I didn't give her a chance to speak again, and formed another ice crystal, piercing through her forehead. "Human nature is complex, one thought for good, one thought for evil." 8. And I don't want to gamble on the complexity of human nature in the apocalypse. The main character is dead. What's the point of reading this stupid novel? Is the plot going off track? Are we going to have to start over? The previous female lead was killed, so let's change the female lead. I think Nora is also good, right? A post-apocalyptic base boss, and a superpowered beautiful girl. I can also ship this CP. The post-apocalyptic boss slowly warms her cold heart. Oh, so exciting. I ignored the chat messages and passed by Archer without hesitation, ending his life with a crystal of ice. It's not that I killed innocent people, but I had heard before that Archer was narrow-minded and vengeful. The post-apocalyptic base he built was supposed to be a shelter for refugees, but in reality, it was looting supplies, using cheap labor to fight zombies, and sacrificing human lives to expand the base. Such a person, once in power, would also be a future problem. After killing Archer, the chat messages that had been jumping wildly in front of my eyes suddenly disappeared. The world finally became quiet. I don't want to become the so-called female lead. I just want to survive in this post-apocalyptic world. After leaving the villa area, I recruited Archer's 2 bodyguards and their recreational vehicle. Those 2 bodyguards were elite among elites, each over 9 meters tall, with excellent physical fitness, skilled in martial arts and combat. In the apocalypse, fighting alone certainly doesn't have to worry about being stabbed in the back by teammates, but people inevitably have moments of drowsiness. Having teammates with interrelated interests can better adapt to the environment of the apocalypse, taking advantage of the early days of the apocalypse. I and my 2 bodyguard teammates looted 2 large supermarkets and 1 grain and oil station, basically stockpiling supplies that could last a small team of 10 for 100 years, after collecting several off-road vehicles and bulldozers. We also gathered a lot of construction materials and tools, and then emptied a gas station of its gasoline. With the help of the space, we were able to gather a sufficient number of vehicles. In just a few weeks, we returned to my hometown Fuzhou. Fuzhou is surrounded by mountains and water, and most importantly, it has the 10,000 mountains. The terrain is rugged, undulating, and rarely visited. Later, I found 2 construction engineers and a chef who had also consumed the ice crystal grass. We selected a steep mountain slope in the mountains of Fuzhou, and using a natural cave as the foundation, we built an apocalypse fortress. The high-temperature apocalypse is still continuing, and I don't know when it will end, but even if it lasts 3 or 5 years, in this piece of paradise, it will be enough for me and my companions to live comfortably.